The man was wearing a black cloak, obviously made from snow mane skin, and it was enough to cover him almost from head to toe. On his feet were also a pair of black snow mane skin boots. Only on his head did he wear a blue beast fur hat. At first glance of the hat, the siblings couldn't take their eyes off it. The hat was clearly blue too, and anyone could tell it was made from thorny wolf fur, but its color was much deeper than theirs, and its texture looked 1,000 times more superior than the clothes they were wearing. Xiao Yu lowered her head to glance at the beast's skin clothing on her body and saw the fine fur on the outer layer. In comparison to that man's hat, she immediately understood. That hat was actually made from the finest fur of the frost wolf head. When she looked back at the man's face, Xiao Yu's cheeks blushed slightly. The man had a delicate and handsome appearance, looking about the same age as her elder sister, with a narrow long sword on his left waist and an iron token on his right waist, inscribed with the words Cloud Jiao. His graceful demeanor made him somewhat stand out among the 15 people around him. Xiao Yu's blushing was, of course, not because of the man's appearance. The main reason was that she realized while she was observing him, the man was also looking at her with a smile on his face. Feeling both embarrassed and thinking the other a bit impolite, she quickly regained her composure and fiercely glared back at him. Don't be rude." Before Xiao Kencheng could speak, Xiao Ning scolded Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu immediately pouted. She was not afraid of her father, Xiao Kencheng, but she was intimidated by her elder sister, Xiao Ning. Being scolded because of an outsider naturally made her unhappy. "Lord Xia Chuan I haven't yet introduced. This is my second daughter, Xiao Yu, and that is my son, Xiao Hen Yu or Henner, quickly greet Lord Xia Chuan." Hearing how their father addressed the young man, their expressions slightly changed, realizing something as they hurried to Xia Chuan to pay their respects. However, before they could bow, Xia Chuan lifted them both up. "There's no need to stand on ceremony. Apart from Miss Xiao Ning, Leader Xiao's other 2 children are also outstanding. It seems the young master is about to break through to the earth-digging realm too, isn't he?" Seeing the astonishment on Xia Chuan's face, Xiao Kencheng grinned widely. Having his children praised made him, as their father, feel comfortable. In particular, his 3 children were indeed exceptional. Looking across the 5-8 mountain area, there were truly few who were stronger than his children. Xiao Ning, on the other hand, blushed slightly and said, "Brother Xia Chuan, don't say that. If not for your help just now, I might have lost my life. Compared to you, how could we be considered outstanding?" Upon hearing this, Xiao Yu and Xiao Hen glanced at each other with a sudden look of gossip in their eyes, as if they had caught the scent of a hunt. Upon hearing his eldest daughter's address for Xia Chuan, Xiao Kencheng also showed a bit of surprise on his face. Turning his head to watch the 2 standing together, a glint appeared in his eyes, and without waiting for Xia Chuan's response, he said directly, "Lord Xia Chuan, our camp is not far from here. Why don't you come back with us and let me extend my hospitality? Leader Xiao's kind invitation, how could I refuse?" "Good, you or Henner, pack up, we're going back." With a smile on his face, Xiao Kencheng waited for Xiao Yu and Xiao Hen to pack up before leading everyone back toward the hills to the north. Driven by curiosity, Xiao Yu and her brother were not willing to wait until returning to camp. They approached someone from the hunting team midway to inquire about the situation. Upon inquiry, they finally understood. Tonight, Xiao Kencheng led the team out hunting, which was originally very smooth. They first caught a thorny wolf and intended to return immediately, but unexpectedly encountered another lone thorny wolf. With a cold snap approaching, they had been frequently going out hunting recently to stockpile as much material as possible. This great opportunity was not something they wanted to miss. So Xiao Decheng led the hunting team into action. Just as they were about to succeed in hunting the thorny wolf, an accident happened. A snow mane burst in. The cold beast resources on this north shore were extremely scarce. The thorny wolf was one of the more common ones. Due to its frequent occurrence, they hunted it often, making coordinated attacks natural for them with high success rates. But the snow mane was different. The snow mane's speed was not as fast as the thorny wolf, but its strength was much greater. Moreover, they had only heard descriptions from other camps as they hadn't actually hunted a snow mane before. The leader ordered us to abandon the dying thorny wolf and retreat immediately, but that snow mane set its sights on us. Ninger charged in to distract it for us, nearly losing her life. The members of the hunting team were about the same age as Xiao Kencheng, and were considered elders to the Xiao siblings, hence the affectionate manner of addressing them. And then second uncle, big sister almost died was it Xia Chuan who. Upon hearing that their big sister was almost in trouble, Xiao Yu and Xiao Hen showed a trace of fear, but quickly realized that this was where Xia Chuan's part of the story should come in. Before they could finish asking Xiao Yuan nodded and spoke up. This Lord Xia Chuan is truly amazing. Xiao Yuan first expressed his admiration, and then raised a finger, saying, "Just one slash, I didn't even see how he appeared. He leaped down from the tree and with one strike finished off the snow mane. Not one of the tricks we heard about, long tongue, playing dead, the usual tactics of the snow mane was used. I'd wager that even the snow mane didn't see Lord Xia Chuan clearly before it died." Chapter 334, Chapter 175, 5-8 Mountain, Xiao He Camp /3. Hearing Xiao Yuan's recounting, both Xiao Yu and Xiao Hen turned their gaze towards the snow mane on his back. Seeing the snow mane was all normal except for a neat, slender wound on its neck, they realized every word Xiao Yuan said was true. Their hearts were suddenly filled with shock and disbelief. So strong, better than father. Father's basic strength is already 19,000, and he can't kill a low-class cold beast with just one slash. He looks about the same age as our eldest sister. How is it possible? Not to mention the shock in Xiao Yu and Xiao Hen's hearts. Up front, the moment Xia Chuan saw the 5 neighboring hills from afar, he immediately knew his destination had been reached. This must be the spot my brother mentioned. As expected, there's indeed a human camp here and likely not just a few. Xia Chuan thought to himself, a glint of light rising in his eyes, as he quickly followed Xiao Qingcheng towards the hill on the far left. The 5 hills had main peaks that were only slightly over 200 meters tall, but their breadth below was astonishing, resembling an open hand placed on the ground with 5 thumb-like hills rising up. The camp of the Xiao He was at the base of the main thumb hill. "Lord Xia Chuan, we've arrived, please." It was nighttime, and just before they'd approached the hill's wall, a cave with a bright light came into view. Seeing the cave beneath the hill's wall, a trace of reminiscence flickered through Xia Chuan's eyes. This camp was eerily similar to the previous Great Xia earthen slope. But as he stepped into the cave, Xia Chuan's thoughts immediately changed. The camp of Xiao He was only similar to the Great Xia slope at the entrance. The interior was an entirely different setup, much more advanced than the Great Xia slope. Outside the cave, there was over 50 meters of space lined with wood and coal stone. The way these resources were arranged clearly showed intentions for both storage and defense. The leader has returned. The hunting team's back with 3 prey. Wow. Sister Ning is back. Since it was nighttime, several bonfires were lit in the outer space. Some adults were busy while some children were at play. Seeing Xiao Qingcheng's return with his people, they greeted and hailed him, with some noticing the unfamiliar Xia Chuan, casting curious glances at him. Walking 50 meters inside, there was a large iron gate embedded in the mountain wall's crevice, clearly the strongest defense of the camp. This iron gate should weigh around 50,000 pounds. Having encountered iron ore often, Xia Chuan could basically estimate the weight of the gate by its volume, noting that compared to this not-so-large gate and the weapons used by the likes of Xiao Qingcheng, this camp evidently lacked iron resources. The coal-stone resources couldn't be seen lacking, but based on the external storage, they weren't abundant either. The gate opened, and Xia Chuan, following Xiao Qingcheng inside, finally got a true look at the core area of the camp. Behind the iron gate was a massive space about 200 meters square and tens of meters high, with over 20 small wooden houses made from timber, people coming and going in between them. Evidently, this was the core area of the Xiao He camp. Xiao Qingcheng led the people all the way to the deepest part, to a house made entirely of golden frost wood. Inside, the house had an abundance of wooden appliances, and even a small stove burning coal stone, with several people bare-chested nearby, forging iron tools. Walking to the main hall with them, Xia Chuan was invited to sit by Xiao Dayan, who seemed about to speak when Xia Chuan quickly interjected with a humble tone. "Leader Xiao, please don't call me Lord. I've just turned 17, you are more than sufficient to be my elder. If you don't mind, we could refer to each other as uncle and nephew, how about that?" Though upon seeing Xia Chuan's appearance, Xiao Qingcheng had already guessed he wouldn't be much older, probably just a few years more than his daughter. Hearing Xia Chuan say he just turned 17 made a thick surprise flash across his face. Waves of shock rose in his heart so much that he forgot to reply. Just from that slash Xia Chuan made in the dense forest, killing a snow mane, Xiao Qingcheng was certain his strength surpassed his own. Judging from his attire and demeanor, it wasn't hard to deduce this Xia Chuan likely came from a large, perhaps even enormous camp, far mightier than Xiao He. This was why he was addressed as Lord throughout the journey. Just turned 17. The same age as his eldest daughter. Xiao Dayan never thought Xia Chuan would be so young. His eldest daughter, Xiao Ning, had just turned 17 and reached the earth-digging realm. Xiao Qingcheng clearly understood this aptitude. It was definitely among the best around the 5-8 mountain camps, and he always took pride in his eldest daughter. Where did this Xia Chuan pop out from? Truly 17, or is he fooling me? Dad, what are you daydreaming about? Brother Xia Chuan is talking to you. Shocked and absent-minded, Xiao Qingcheng was snapped out of it by a disgruntled Xiao Ning. It feels like I've lived my years in vain, all right. Since Brother Xia Chuan is so reasonable, I'll boldly call you dear nephew, but calling me uncle, I dare not take that title, just call me Leader Xiao. Xia Chuan slightly nodded. He had noticed the shock on Xiao Qingcheng and the others' faces when they heard his age. His heart couldn't help but chuckle lightly. In the great Xia camp, many have talents exceeding his. Not to mention his brother Xia Hong, just Yuan Dao alone, as far as he knows, had started reshaping skin at merely 15. If these people were surprised by him at 17, they'd be even more shocked to see Yuan Dao. Nephew Xia Chuan must not be from around the 5-8 mountain. 5-8 mountain should be the 5 earthen hills seen outside. People from around 5-8 mountain. Indeed, there are other camps besides Xiao He around here. Xia Chuan's eyes slightly brightened, not hiding the fact. He immediately took out a token from his waist, handing it over to Xiao Qingcheng, declaring aloud. Leader Xiao is indeed keen-eyed. Xia Chuan comes from the Twin Dragon Valley Great Xia Camp, about 10 kilometers from the 5-8 mountain. This trip is to hunt with a small group, and if not for serendipity, meeting Leader Xiao's group, I wouldn't have known such a large human camp existed here. Just from a rough glance, Xia Chuan had a good sense of the population. Xiao He camp's population should be over 1,000, with about 20+ people in the earth-digging realm, similar to the previous Rojal camp, a slightly stronger, medium-sized camp. Upon Xia Chuan saying a human camp this large, Xiao Qingcheng lightly shook his head, hearing the politeness in the other party's tone, directly asking, Nephew is too modest. I might not know the population of Great Xia, but judging from your displayed strength, attire, and weaponry, I can guess it's much stronger than Xiao He camp. If you don't mind, we hope nephew can speak openly, so we can learn more how about it. With Xiao Qingcheng's question, everyone present became instantly interested, including the 3 siblings Xiao Ning, Xiao Yu, and Xiao Hen, as well as other hunting team members, all turning their gazes to Xia Chuan, looking at him expectantly for a response. Xia Chuan did not conceal anything, directly taking out a beast skin roll map, and while unfolding it for Xiao Qingcheng and the others to see, a proud touch appeared on his brows involuntarily. Since Leader Xiao asked, I won't hide any secrets. Twin Dragon Valley is right here. Under my brother Xia Hong's leadership, although Great Xia's population is barely 5,000, it is filled with talent and has conquered territories of over 300 square kilometers. The outer perimeter of Redwood Ridge to the east, the entire northern Arrow Bamboo Forest, are now hunting grounds of my Great Xia, with resources of beast skins, beast meat, beast blood, iron ore, coal mines, spiritual herbs, rare treasures, and more abundant. Xia Chuan's narrative quickly enchanted everyone. Only Xiao Qingcheng, the more he listened, the more his brows furrowed, and his gaze upon Xia Chuan gradually carried a hint of scrutiny and suspicion. Leader Xiao, frankly speaking, Xia Chuan's purpose in coming to the north bank of the Xing River is twofold. 1. To expand the territory of Great Xia. 2. To rescue more humans struggling for survival in the ice abyss and bring them into the Great Xia camp to lead a better life. As expected, no sooner had Xia Chuan finished speaking these final words than not just Xiao Qingcheng, but also the 3 siblings Xiao Ning, Xiao Yu, Xiao Hen, and all the hunting team members at the Xiao He camp's faces changed from originally amiable to wariness, vigilance, scrutiny, doubt. Seeing these emotions on their faces, Xia Chuan was slightly taken aback. This was not what he had anticipated. What's going on? Chapter 335. Chapter 176, Resistance and Reason. In the ice abyss world, the weaker the human camp, the more they yearn to merge with a stronger camp. This is beyond doubt. After all, the stronger the camp, the higher the survival rate, the better the environment, and the more abundant the resources. Anyone with a normal mind would understand this. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that a few camps with high-level figures unwilling to give up their superior positions might develop resistance and obstruct the merger in every possible way. However, the father and daughter Xiao Qingcheng and Xiao Ning before him, despite the short contact, Xia Chuan could basically be sure that they were not such people. If so, then is there another reason? Remembering that he was not familiar with the situation of the camps around 5-8 Mountain, Xia Chuan fell silent for a moment, then asked, "It seems like everyone has concerns. Can you tell me the reasons? I'm not so talented, but I have some say in my own camp. As long as your requests are not excessive, I can promise on behalf of my leader. How about it?" There was no response to Xia Chuan's inquiry. Instead, after he finished speaking, Xiao Kangcheng and others became more vigilant. The scene remained silent for more than 10 breaths. Then Xiao Kangcheng suddenly gave one of the hunting team a signal, and that person left immediately. Xia Chuan's face slightly darkened. Some caution rose in his eyes, but he was not too worried. He had just saved Xiao Ning, and with Xiao Kangcheng's nature, it shouldn't come to violence against him. Sure enough, the person who left soon returned. Except on his back, he carried a snow mane and a frost wolf, walked over, and placed the two prey in front of Xia Chuan. This was intended as a farewell. Seeing the two prey, Xia Chuan immediately understood their intentions. "Lord Xia Chuan saved my daughter today. I am endlessly grateful. In our Xiao He camp, except for people, anything you fancy, I will offer with both hands. As for other matters, please do not mention them again." Xiao Qingcheng's tone suddenly became so stiff, catching Xia Chuan somewhat off guard. He did not expect the other party to refuse him directly without even explaining the reasons, rendering all his prepared arguments useless. Although still wanting to try again, seeing the clear rejection and resistance on Xiao Qingcheng's face, realizing too much was as bad as too little, Xia Chuan held back. He only lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then looked up with a hint of a smile. "Leader Xiao, rest assured, I saved Miss Xiao today purely by coincidence, not for other intentions." After saying this, Xia Chuan paused, making eye contact with Xiao Ning. The sincerity in his eyes made Xiao Ning's stiff expression slightly evasive. "Since you are not welcoming, Xia Chuan will take his leave." With that said, Xia Chuan did not linger, stood up, bowed towards Xiao Qingcheng and walked out. "Sir, these two prey on the ground." Xiao Qingcheng reminded him to take the prey, but Xia Chuan did not look back and walked out along the path he had come. As he was about to leave, Xia Chuan remembered something, paused his steps, took off the iron token from his waist and tossed it towards Xiao Qingcheng. "Recently, there might be a lot of people from Great Xia active on the North Shore. To avoid unnecessary conflicts, I give this token to Leader Xiao. If any trouble arises, you might try it. It might be useful." Xiao Qingcheng took the token. His expression softened a bit, but remained vigilant until he confirmed Xia Chuan had left the cave. Then he sat back on the chair, his face's wariness gradually turning into regret and self-blame. "Indeed, strangers should not be brought back to the camp. I was foolish, not only exposing our location but even letting the strength of our camp be thoroughly assessed. If this person harbors any ill intentions, our situation could become dire." Upon hearing Xiao Qingcheng's words, Xiao Ning and her siblings, along with the hunting team members, became serious. "Leader, you cannot be blamed. Xia Chuan acted so kind and his appearance was deceiving, revealing his true intentions only after entering the base. None of us expected this. If he dares have any ill intentions, no matter how powerful he is alone, and the fact we didn't act against him today is already showing leniency. He knows our location now. What if he goes back and tells the people from their Great Xia camp to come over? What then? Even if they come, we need not fear. Do you really believe what he just said? If Great Xia's power was truly as he claimed, why would they come for us? I think he was making it up to deceive us. For sure, just like the Three Tigers camp, first with sweet talk, tricking us into taking the bait. Then when we actually went there, apart from the earth-digging realm, ordinary people and those of the logging realm would be used either as slave labor or as bait for cold beasts. Such a good 5-8 mountain has already been ruined into this mess by those 3 evil tigers, and now a great Xia has come. The cold wave is coming again, truly a turbulent time. Enough, no more idle talk. Inform everyone in the camp not to venture too far at night for a while, and when going out to chop wood, stay nearby. Go spread the word. Hearing the discussions, Xiao Qingcheng spoke up, interrupting them. Everyone immediately dispersed to notify others, except Xiao Ning, who did not move. Seeing his eldest daughter holding the token left by Xia Chuan, looking somewhat dazed, Xiao Qingcheng looked at her, his expression gradually becoming odd. Chapter 336, Chapter 176, Resistance and Reason /2. Ninger, you wouldn't still be thinking. Xiao Ning snapped out of her trance and, seeing her father's gaze, immediately stomped her foot in annoyance. Dad, what are you imagining now? After speaking, she hesitated for a moment, then raised the token, her expression gradually becoming serious as she spoke. I just feel that the craftsmanship of this token is something that the 3 Tigers camp might not be able to produce. Even if what that Xia Chuan said had some exaggeration, the strength of this great Xia camp is probably not to be underestimated, and might not be weaker than the 3 Tigers camp. Xiao Qingcheng took the token and examined it carefully for a moment, his expression also growing grave. The token was rectangular, about the size of a fist. On the front, besides the embossed cloud Jiao, there was also a small character Xia at the top. Apart from the characters, the rest of the token and its edges were deliberately engraved with a layer of cloud patterns, enhancing its aesthetic appeal. The iron from the ice abyss world had a very high density. A piece the size of a fist weighed 40 to 50 pounds, and this token, after a slight heft, Xiao Qingcheng knew it was over 50 pounds. It's not that making a token is particularly difficult, but mainly it's about being willing to use so much iron to forge a token, and spending the effort to create beautiful cloud patterns, which in itself says a lot. This great Xia camp lacks neither those in the earth-digging realm, nor iron, nor coal, and they might not even lack cold beast meat. Just these points alone are enough to prove that their strength is comparable to the 3 Tigers camp. Hearing his daughter's words, Xiao Qingcheng furrowed his brows, recalling the 2 prey on the ground that Xia Chuan hadn't even glanced at, as well as the iron scabbard of the slender long sword hanging from his waist, nodding slightly. But Dad... Xiao Ning hesitated for a moment. A blush appeared on her cheeks, then she looked up and continued. I feel that brother Xia Chuan is different from the people of the 3 Tigers camp. It's over. Seeing his daughter's reaction, 2 words instantly popped into Xiao Qingcheng's mind. Hero rescuing the beauty, not to mention that Xia Chuan has an outstanding appearance and has impressive strength at such a young age. Combined with his elegant and extraordinary temperament, it's normal for their daughter to be moved and unable to resist. Not to mention within the Xiao He camp itself, even in the 5-8 mountain area, no matter the youth or talent, their daughter Xiao Ning has always been unimpressed. Seeing that their daughter is 18 and still unmarried, Xiao Qingcheng is also anxious. Now that a suitable match has finally appeared, he should be happy. The problem is, thinking about knowing nothing about Xia Chuan and the other parties showing a clear intention of annexation. What fills his heart more is apprehension and hesitation. The previous lesson of the 3 Tigers camp is too profound. If this great Xia is the same as them, then it wouldn't be a good match, but rather a huge peril. Let's wait and see for now. According to Xia Chuan, recently quite a number of people from Great Xia camp will be active on the North Shore. We can observe further then. While Xiao Qingcheng and his people were filled with apprehension, on the other side, Xia Chuan just learned from Zhao Hu the reason for their reactions. So you're saying, the 3 Tigers camp previously used deceitful methods to annex many camps, but their rule is to concentrate all resources to supply the top leadership. Besides the earth-digging realm and their families, the logging realm and ordinary people are either slave laborers or bait for cold beasts, and their ends are miserable. Hearing Xia Chuan's question, Zhao Hu, who had been speaking for a long time, first nodded, then shook his head and said, not only the logging realm and ordinary people, even some in the earth-digging realm couldn't escape. What I found out is that even some in the earth-digging realm had to obey the 3 leaders because their families were controlled. Even those in the earth-digging realm are threatened. Xia Chuan furrowed his brow, and before he could speak, Zhao Hu continued. In this 5-8 mountain area, there were initially 20 to 30,000 people, with 30 to 40 camps of various sizes, over 10 medium-sized, and more than 20 small-sized. The Three Tigers camp was just one of the medium-sized camps. Using such methods, they devastated almost 60 to 70% of the small camps and even deceived 2 medium-sized camps. It was only after deceived people escaped from those 2 medium-sized camps and made the matter public that they found it harder to deceive others afterward. After hearing this, Xia Chuan completely understood why Xiao Kengcheng and the others reacted as they did just now. It's quite possible that the Xiao He camp had also been deceived, but didn't fall for it. With so many people tricked, how is the strength of this Three Tigers camp? Upon hearing this question, Zhao Hu slightly furrowed his brows, shook his head and said, "The little river camp I found only has a population of over 200, and they know very little and are very wary of me. If I hadn't used some means, I probably wouldn't have been able to find out this much." "Use some means." Xia Chuan slightly raised a brow, looking up at Zhao Hu and the 9 members of the Steel main team behind him. Noticing their somewhat evasive expressions, he immediately understood. Either they beat people or they threaten people. It's understandable when you think about it. 10 from the earth-digging realm facing a small camp of only over 200 people could almost form a crushing stance. Under such circumstances, Zhao Hu certainly wouldn't treat them as courteously as with the Xiao He camp, as the disparity in identity and strength between both parties is truly too great. "Lord, the camps here are too defensive and can't communicate well with us. It might be better to be more forceful, directly take them into the camp first, and after a long time, once they experience the many benefits of joining Great Xia, they naturally won't have any objections to us." Chapter 337, Chapter 176, Resistance and Reason /3. Thinking about his experience at Xiao He camp, Xia Chuan could understand Zhao Hu, but did not immediately express agreement. After pondering for a moment, he shook his head. This method can't be used frequently. When encountering small camps with fewer people, it can be used in extreme situations, but most of the time we should use normal persuasion. After all, we are recruiting people for the camp. If people get a bad impression before they even arrive, the integration will be slower, and ultimately, it is us who suffer. Saying this, Xia Chuan paused, looking solemn. Killing is absolutely not allowed. Hearing this last sentence, Zhao Hu immediately waved his hand, shook his head and laughed. "A person is worth 50 contribution points. I wouldn't be willing to kill." "Ha, right, they're so valuable we won't kill them. We don't do losing trades." "Haha." Hearing this, the members of the Steel main team behind him laughed loudly, joining in the banter. Xia Chuan also revealed a slight smile. Indeed, killing wasn't likely. The rewards for pioneering contribution points mainly come through 3 channels. First is map expansion, 1 point for every 10 meters. Second is discovering camps, from small to huge, ranging from 500 to 10,000. Third is recruiting outsiders for the camp, 50 points per person, with no upper limit. Hunting team members, when hunting a low-level cold beast together, might only earn around 30 contribution points, and 50 points could be equivalent to 2 hunts for them, so who would foolishly kill these people? "Sir, we are back." Xia Chuan turned around and saw Xi Ping, leading the other 8 members of the Cloud Jiao team, also coming toward him from a distance. "Why so happy? Did you discover something?" Seeing the excitement on Xi Ping's face, Xia Chuan asked with a feeling of something amiss. Xi Ping nodded heavily and said, "I discovered a logging team with over 20 people. Their leader is called Shen Dong. Their camp is called Mu Chuan with over 400 people. I've already talked to Shen Dong. They are very wary of outsiders and didn't agree directly, only saying that if we sincerely invite them, we should meet at the usual place next time. They will send people to check out our Great Xia, and if everything is true, they will bring their whole camp and join Great Xia." Indeed, not only Xiao He camp, but also all the camps around 5-8 Mountain were made very wary of outsiders by the Three Tigers camp. Xia Chuan looked at Xi Ping, making a rough assessment, and finally shook his head. Encountering the logging team means Xi Ping doesn't know the exact location of the Mu Chuan camp, probably meeting Shen Dong and his people in the dense forest. Shen Dong must have seen that Xi Ping and his group of 9 were too strong and didn't dare reject them face to face, unsure if Xi Ping would use force, so he deliberately used the excuse of sending someone next time to check Great Xia to ensure his own safety. Most likely, at the usual place next time, the other party won't show up. Xia Chuan looked around, seeing all his team members and Zhao Hu's team members present, didn't say much, and after a moment of contemplation led everyone back. Xi Ping was not dumb. Seeing Xia Chuan's lack of enthusiasm about his discovery, he started chatting with Zhao Hu on their way back, learning about the Three Tigers camp at 5-8 Mountain and the surrounding camps, and his face turned grim. He also realized that he was probably tricked by Shen Dong. Next time, if he goes to the usual place and they don't come, where would he find them? Don't worry, we're relatively lucky. At least we have a discovery. Xuanwu team has been around here recently and found nothing. Dragon Martial and Divine Martial teams have come to assist, and with more than 20 days left, we have a better chance if we focus more in this direction. Hearing Xia Chuan's words, Xi Ping's mood improved considerably. Currently, the camp is vying for the Pioneer Department Director position. Judging by Xuanwu team's recent actions, it's evident that Hong Guang is determined to get this position, and both Dragon Martial and Divine Martial teams, under Yuan Dao and Hong Tian, want to assist him. Sir holds high expectations for me. I must not let him down. Cloud, Zhao team has already completed this month's hunting targets. From now on, I will come here every night to recruit enough people and secure this director position. Thinking of Xia Chuan leading the entire Cloud Zhao team, and even bringing in Zhao Hu's Golden Eagle team to help him compete for the director position, Xi Ping secretly determined not to lose. Leading Xia Chuan, combined Zhao Hu and Xi Ping's news in his mind, showing a thoughtful look in his eyes. It seems the issue lies with this Three Tigers camp. To incorporate all camps here into Great Xia, we must first deal with this Three Tigers camp. Smaller camps probably don't know much. The breakthrough point is still at Zio He camp. This is not like before with De Chuan, De Shi, and Huang Zhao. Although they were not familiar with Great Xia, they all lived on Redwood Ridge. While not knowing everything, there was at least some basic relationship, making integration less troublesome. 5-8 Mountain is different, geographically far from Great Xia, plus with different circumstances on both sides, people won't be easily persuaded to come to Great Xia just from a few words. In Ice Abyss world, trust is a valuable commodity, especially for weak camp humans. Luo Yuan, Yuan Qing, Zhao Long, Zhao Bao, Huang Yang, the 5 of them should have completed their targets this month. From tomorrow night, tell them to come here and find out everything about the camps at 5-8 Mountain, especially locating Three Tigers camp. I want to see just how terrifying those 3 vicious tigers are. Hearing Xia Chuan's words ahead, Zhao Bao's face immediately showed a hint of excitement. With so many people coming, it's going to be lively. Even if the target isn't completed, it's okay. Although there aren't many cold beasts on the North Shore, we can still find some if we search carefully. Catching a few would be just like playing. Xi Ping was different, realizing Xia Chuan wanted the other 5 hunting teams to help him, feeling the pressure increased. Chapter 338, Chapter 177, Population Growth, Trouble for Hong Guang. Big Chapter, Votes and Subscriptions Needed. First year of the Great Xia, April 1st, late night. In the valley, the construction of the new wooden building was still underway with great enthusiasm. Although only 10 days had passed, the outline of the 3-story structure of the new wooden building had already begun to take shape, and the focus of construction had shifted from the outer walls to the interior. Unlike before, the outer walls of the new wooden building utilized a large amount of iron material. Some key parts were even reinforced and thickened. Just judging by the naked eye, the new building's defensive capability certainly surpassed the previous one by several times. At the mouth of the valley, a group of several hundred people was gradually walking in. This group, everyone wearing beast skin skirts, with some even having tattered ones, and a few children were simply wrapped in a piece of beast skin, clearly having traveled a long way, their lips blue from the cold. After entering the valley, looking around at everything, they all stopped involuntarily, with expressions full of awe and excitement. We've arrived. This valley is where our Great Xia is stationed. So warm without seeing any bonfire. How is the temperature so high? Must be burning coal. Look at that white smoke. So much wood. The sides of this valley are almost filled with wood. What wood? Look at the ground over there. It's all iron and coal. Gasp. Look over there. It's cold beast meat. So much beast skin. There must be thousands of them just lying on the ground like that. These 2 wooden houses are so big. Not just these 2 outside, look inside. There are 3 more buildings, that one being constructed, using so much iron on the walls. Gasp, not just the outer walls, a lot of iron is used inside too. Are these stones on the ground all coal? The The wooden building was still in the construction phase, and both temporary wooden houses were needed for accommodation, so all the resources obtained by the camp recently, whether wood, coal, iron, beast meat, beast blood, or beast skin, were basically piled on either side of the valley. The resources hunted and mined over the past 10 days appeared ordinary to the people of Great Xia, but to others, it was different. Standing at the forefront of the crowd at this moment, Zheng Fan was full of disbelief as he looked inside the valley, even pinching himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming. Upon confirming what he saw was real, a surge of joy and excitement appeared on his face, almost causing him to shout out loud. "It's true, Lord, she didn't lie to me, didn't lie to us." 3 days ago, listening to Lord Shiping's impressive speech, he didn't believe a word, thinking that no matter how strong Great Xia was, it couldn't surpass the Three Tigers camp. Having lived many years in 5-8 Mountain, the shadow of the Three Tigers camp made Zheng Fan unable to imagine any camp stronger than theirs. Deciding to take the risk and merge over 300 people into Great Xia was actually a helpless move for Zheng Fan. Their base at Zhangping Camp was just at 4-8 Peak, very close to the Three Tigers Camp. In recent years, as the atrocities of the Three Tigers Camp were exposed, many small camps stopped being deceived, but their days only grew increasingly difficult. The reason being that while the Three Tigers Camp previously used deceptive and enticing methods, now they didn't bother pretending anymore, directly searching everywhere, and any small camp they found ended up extremely tragically. With the cold snap approaching, the Three Tigers Camp seemed to lack slave labor bait, increasing the frequency of their searches nearby, making the risk of venturing out to log even higher. There were 2 occasions where the location of their base almost got discovered, which made Zheng Fan incredibly anxious and fearful. He had learned quite a bit from others about the consequences if discovered by the Three Tigers Camp, knowing the fate of his group would be utterly tragic. Zheng Fan had considered finding a medium-sized camp in 5-8 Mountain to bring his people over, but he knew the 2 medium-sized camps at 4-8 Peak had neither the capability nor the willingness to take in there over 300 people. Aside from 4-8 Peak, he couldn't make it any further, let alone find another camp to take them in. Even if he dared to find a third medium-sized camp, the result would likely be the same as the nearby ones. At this critical moment, the appearance of Shiping was his last lifeline. Although he didn't believe Shiping's description of the Great Xia camp and even harbored suspicions, he ultimately had no choice but to gamble on it. 3 days ago, after hesitating for a long time, he agreed with Shiping, arranged to notify the camp to pack up, and 3 days later in the evening, everyone would migrate to Great Xia with Shiping. Actually, just before nightfall last night, upon seeing Shiping arriving with nearly 30 fully armed men, saying they were there to escort them for the migration, he had already started to waver in his heart. Just from their aura, he could tell that nearly 30 people brought by Shiping all had the strength of the earth-digging realm, not to mention the exquisite clothing they wore and the various iron weapons they carried, things Zheng Fan hadn't seen in all his years in 5-8 Mountain. This Great Xia camp, even if its strength wasn't above the Three Tigers camp, probably wasn't far behind. That was Zheng Fan's thought before departing last night. At this moment, having truly entered the Great Xia Valley, seeing everything before him, he realized just how off-target his previous thoughts were. Not to mention anything else, just the towering piles of wood, coal stone, iron ore, and the cold beast meat and various cold beast materials in the valley, along with that big barrel of red liquid he couldn't comprehend, were enough to prove that Great Xia's strength was far beyond compare to the Three Tigers camp. Chapter 339. Chapter 177. Population Growth, Trouble for Hong Guang. Big Chapter, Votes and Subscriptions Needed /2. Right in the middle of the valley, the wooden building under construction has iron materials that are visible to the naked eye, estimated to be hundreds of thousands of pounds. Hundreds of thousands of pounds. How many weapons could be made from that? And yet it's being used to make a building. No, there are 2 more buildings behind the wooden building, and from the one on the right, iron material is continuously being transported out and sent up to the wooden building. He even saw batches of weapons being carried out from inside. More unbelievably, after that person moved the weapons out, he directly threw them onto a wooden board on the south side of the valley. And on that wooden board, there were already hundreds of sabers and bows and arrows placed. Chief clothes, did you see that? Everyone in the Great Xia camp is almost wearing full sets of clothes, even those. Upon hearing someone next to him, Zhang Fan followed their gaze and immediately his pupils shrank, his expression instantly becoming as stiff as theirs. Luoan, it's your turn to be the cold beast. Today I'm the captain. All right, I'm going to start. Howl. Zio Ping, quickly grab the rope. The rest of you come with me. Attack. They, a group of 20 to 30 children, appearing to be only 3 or 4 years old, are holding wooden sticks and wooden swords, playing on the south side of the valley. They are clearly engaged in some kind of hunting game. What left Zhang Fan and the others dumbfounded was that every child in that group was wearing a full set of beast skin jackets, which even came in 5 colors: black, blue, brown, green, and white. Gulp! Zhang Fan swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and those who entered the valley with him mostly had dazed expressions, clearly quite shocked. Though some of the younger children didn't think too much, they simply looked at the clothes on Luo En and his group, filled with deep envy in their eyes. Old Zheng, you're here too, ha ha ha. Suddenly, a person transporting wood from the south cliff seemed to notice Zhang Fan for the first time, shouted out loudly as he approached, his face full of smiles. Zhang Fan snapped out of his daze, lifted his head to see the man clearly, and his expression froze. Old Kong, how come you're here? Apart from the 2 mid-sized camps on this side of the 4-Ape Peak, there were a few small camps hidden, which Zhang Fan wasn't clear about, but he did know of 2 that neighbored the Zhang Ping camp. Kong He camp was one of them, and the person in front of him, Kong Ning, was the leader of that camp. They had met before while logging and were on good terms. Only allowing you to come, were you brought here by Lord Shiping too? That's right. Meeting a familiar face in a strange camp made Zhang Fan, already in a good mood, feel even better, and he quickly pulled Kong Ning aside to start inquiring about the situation. Seeing the situation inside the valley, he could already be certain that Great Xia's strength was superior to the 3 Tigers' camp. The next step was to confirm whether the promises Shiping had made to him earlier were true. And as the 2 chatted, Zhang Fan's expression brightened, and his demeanor gradually grew more excited. Meanwhile, on the top floor of the wooden building, Meng Ao, Zhu Kang, and Hong Yu, who were working, also had their eyes on this group of people. Zhu Kang, with a slight change in expression, said, "This is the 4th batch, right? These people were brought back by the Cloud Jiao team, so they should be credited to Shiping." Meng Ao nodded, casting his gaze toward Hong Yu, and softly inquired, "The 2 camps Uncle Hong brought back didn't seem to have a lot of people. Do you know the exact numbers, Zio Yu?" Upon hearing them, Hong Yu withdrew his gaze, his expression a bit somber, nodding in response. The 2 camps Brother Dao and Father brought back earlier had a total of only 482 people. Luo Yuan's Tiger Leopard team first brought back the Kong camp, which has 329 people, and this one seems to have over 302. Currently, Shiping is ahead. Meng Ao and Zhu Kang's faces froze slightly upon hearing this. Most of the logging realm probably didn't know that the camps were vying for the Pioneer Department Director position, but the 3 of them, being the sons of the concerned parties, knew quite well. The 3 of them were aware that the current competition might seem to be between Hong Guang and Shiping on the surface, but in reality, it was between Minister Xia Chuan and Hunting Department Director Yuan Dao. Reasonably speaking, Shiping wasn't qualified to compete with Hong Guang. After all, he was just a regular member of the Cloud Jiao team, whereas Hong Guang was the captain of the Chuanwu team. The problem was that Shiping had the backing of Minister Xia Chuan. Recently, Xia Chuan had dispatched all 7 hunting teams from Great Xia over to the North Shore, ostensibly for hunting, but everyone knew it was to recruit more people for Shiping. Of course, Hong Guang didn't show weakness either. Besides his own Chuanwu team, he had Yuan Dao supporting him, bringing along the Dragon Martial, Divine Martial, Zhenwu, Heroic, and Xingwu teams, a total of 6 teams, almost all deployed, searching for people on the North Shore every night. Currently, the situation is that the teams from Great Xia find camps, bring back people, contribute points to themselves, but the credit goes to Shiping. Similarly, Yuan Dao's teams have their credits marked under Hong Guang. It all stemmed from that statement made by Chief Xia Hong earlier. In 1 month, whoever brings back more people for the camp, the position of Pioneer Department Director will be theirs. There are still 20 days left, who's to say until the very end, though there are many on Shiping's side. They lack strength compared to ours. I'm sure Uncle Hong will definitely get the position in the end. Zio Yu, no need to worry. Seeing Hong Yu frowning, Zhu Kang hurriedly spoke up to comfort him. thinking he was worried that his father, Hong Guang, wouldn't get the position. Chapter 340, Chapter 177, Population Growth, Trouble for Hong Guang. Big Chapter, Votes and Subscriptions Needed /3. Chinese letter also nodded and said, "My father also said that Lord Minister is not as strong as Brother Tao. Among the 67 earth-digging realm warriors who help Xi Ping, not one of them has a strength limit of 30,000 caddies, whereas on our side we have 6. From a strength perspective, Uncle Hong shouldn't lose." Hearing the persuasion from the two of them, Hong Yu shook his head, initially showing a hint of hesitation on his face, then slowly said, "You misunderstand, I'm not worried about my father losing to Xi Ping. It's just, is this director position really that important? Lately my father runs to the North Shore as soon as night falls, and my second uncle, Uncle Hong and Uncle Zhu all follow along. Last night, they didn't even return to camp. To put so much mental and physical effort into just one director position, I feel it's not worth it." Upon hearing this, Zhu Meng and the other remained silent and didn't say a word. In essence, Hong Guang vying for this director position is still about allowing this group of newcomers from Mirror Immortal to have more say in Great Xia. They are supposed to support it. However, in actuality, after staying in Great Xia for a period of time, the attitudes of the three slightly changed, so they understood when Hong Yu said this. The resources of Great Xia are allocated based on personal contribution, which ultimately is linked to strength. The stronger you are, the more you can contribute. The position of 6th Department Director at the end of the day is merely a symbol of status. It only looks good in name, without any real benefits. Furthermore, it consumes a lot of training time with trivial matters, greatly affecting the enhancement of strength. The most crucial point is that, whether it is the leader or the director, there is no difference in their approach towards us latecomers and towards their own people. Since that's the case, why bother over a director position? Better to focus on improving our strength. Once our strength increases, our status will rise naturally. Hong Yu's words were thought-provoking, and while Zhu Meng and the other did not utter a word, their faces were full of agreement, clearly recognizing the truth in the words. Our words hold little weight. Even if we have such thoughts, no one will listen to us. There is nothing we can do if our fathers want to compete. We should focus on enhancing our strength first. It will be better when we gain some say after entering the hunting department. Hearing his two friends, Hong Yu nodded and didn't say anything further. The three of them continued with their unfinished tasks, but their eyes frequently glanced towards the martial arts hall behind the left side of the wooden building, faces full of yearning. Having taken in 3 camps earlier, Great Xia is clearly quite experienced now, and the 300-plus people with Zheng Fan were quickly settled by the people Lin Kai dispatched. In the logging realm, both adults and children were registered methodically. While turning from a leader into an ordinary member of Great Xia, Zheng Fan felt some sentiment, but more so a sense of relief. The life he led as a leader before was actually not as good as that of an ordinary member of Great Xia. As he walked out from the temporary wooden hut on the right, he immediately found Kong Ning and was about to chat with him when Xi Ping called out to him. "Zheng Fan, Kong Ning, come with me." Both camps were brought over by Xi Ping, so the two leaders were naturally familiar with him, and upon hearing him, they promptly followed, heading towards the wooden hut on the left. "Sir, what can we do for you?" Kong Ning had been in Great Xia for 3 days and had gained a little understanding of the camp's layout. For these newcomers, they were all settled in the huts on the right side. He hadn't been to the huts on the left, but he'd heard they were where some significant figures of the camp handled affairs. Surely, Xi Ping bringing them over meant something important. Having been here for so many days, being sought today suddenly, Kong Ning was somewhat confused. Apprehension inevitably crept in. Zheng Fan, having just arrived, was clueless and could only follow behind. Hearing Kong Ning's inquiry, he curiously looked at Xi Ping as well. Xi Ping did not turn around, just said, "No need to worry, Lord Minister wants to see you, probably to ask about the situation at 5-8 Mountain. Just speak truthfully, no need to conceal anything." "Yes, sir." Upon hearing the words, "Lord Minister," Kong Ning was immediately a bit excited. Zheng Fan, on the other hand, was somewhat puzzled, following along without knowing much. Before long, the two followed Xi Ping into the left-side wooden hut, reached the deep part of the main hall, and circled around a 3-legged round tripod before coming to a stop. Behind the round tripod was a large hall separated by wooden planks. At the top of the hall there was an empty chair, with a thick layer of beast fur pad on it. Below it, there were more than 20 chairs in 2 rows, with only 6 occupied, most left empty. Upon entering the hall, Zhang Fan's gaze immediately locked onto the 2 individuals at the front. The person on the left wore a black cloak, with a gentle appearance. Even sitting, one could tell his figure was tall and slender, and his appearance so youthful, yet his extraordinary poise surpassed anyone Zhang Fan had ever seen before. The person on the right wore a black, form-fitting combat attire, appearance equally youthful as the person on the left, but possessing a very sharp demeanor, seeming slightly displeased at the moment, with a somewhat unfriendly expression. As he entered, his gaze was like a sharp sword directed at Zhang Fan, making him a bit uneasy. Zhang Fan didn't have the time to observe the 4 people below, as by then, Shi Ping had already walked up to the person on the left and spoke. "Lord Minister, Zhang Fan and Kong Ning have been brought." Noticing the respectful stance of Shi Ping, Zhang Fan realized that the young man before him was indeed the Lord Minister that Shi Ping had just mentioned, and his heart was slightly shaken. Chapter 341. Chapter 177. Population Growth, Trouble for Hong Guang. Big Chapter, Votes and Subscriptions Needed /4. Shi Ping possesses earth-digging realm cultivation and can bring so many people to help their camp migrate. Before, Zhang Fan always thought that even if his status in the Great Xia wasn't the highest, it certainly wouldn't be low. Unexpectedly, in front of this young man, his demeanor was so humble. Minister, could it mean the leader? The Great Xia refers to the leader as minister. It must be like this. Zhang Fan, who was new here, deduced this in his mind based on previous experience, and concluded that the young man before him must be the leader of the Great Xia. Zhang Fan, Kong Ning, I heard that your 2 families' residences are both on 4-8 Peak. Is that correct? Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord. When the minister on the left side spoke, Zhang Fan and Kong Ning hurried to answer. Do you know the location of the 3 Tigers Camp's residence? Hearing this question, both of their expressions froze slightly. My lord, I only know that the 3 Tigers Camp's residence is on Middle 8 Peak, but I'm not sure of the exact location. We usually avoid them, and we don't dare to look for their residence's location. After Kong Ning spoke, the gaze of everyone present focused on Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan had a hesitant expression on his face and didn't speak for a long time. Realizing everyone was watching him, he became even more nervous and couldn't speak. Don't worry, just say whatever comes to mind. It's okay even if it's wrong. Noticing Zhang Fan's hesitation, Shi Ping immediately spoke to reassure him. With his assurance, Zhang Fan became a bit bolder, nodded, and spoke. Our residence is in a cave under 4-8 Peak. Previously, when I went out to chop wood, I accidentally came across the hunting team from 3 Tigers Camp. Although I dared not make a sound and hid discreetly, I heard them saying that the camp was only 500 or 600 meters away. Because we generally wanted to avoid them and prevent accidentally approaching that side in the future, I remembered that position. Thud. As soon as Zhang Fan finished speaking, he was startled. Because the young man on the right, dressed in black form-fitting attire with a sharp expression, seemed like he had been holding back for a long time, and abruptly stood up from the chair with a thud. My lord, time is of the essence. Let me take people and set off now. Seeing Yuan Dao eager and impatient, Xia Chuan, the young man on the left, slightly shook his head and gravely asked, Are you sure Hong Guang has had an accident? Yuan Dao nodded heavily and spoke, Absolutely. Hong Guang has been with my father for many years and wouldn't act so rashly. Even if something important required him to stay there, he would have surely sent someone back to report, not just have no news and not return overnight. Upon hearing Yuan Dao's response, Xia Chuan's expression immediately turned somber. In the ice abyss world, the human activity range is limited, and given the dangers of this unfamiliar environment, under normal circumstances, people indeed wouldn't stay outside overnight unless in special situations. Hong Guang is nearly 40, which is considered elderly in the ice abyss world, and he wouldn't be unaware of these rules. The problem is, he took 6 members of the Xuanwu team with him. Even if something important required them to stay outside overnight, he could just send someone back to notify, considering 5-8 Mountain is only 10 kilometers from Great Xia. Going back and forth shouldn't take long. A few days ago, Lao Hong mentioned to me that he had news of a large camp, and if followed, it would quickly lead him there. Well negotiated, they could be brought to Great Xia. I hadn't thought much about it at that time, but thinking now, He surely got that information from another place about the Three Tigers camp. Among the 4 people below the hall, Meng Yi also stood up, his face extremely grim. The people sitting next to him, Zhu Ling, Zhu Yuan, and Han Guang's brother Han Tian, were also full of worry. "My lord, let us go and look for them. Delaying could cause problems." Han Tian, agitated, directly appealed to Xia Chuan. Although Yuan Dao didn't speak again, his eyes were full of plea, clearly worried about Han Guang just like Han Tian. Seeing the 5 people so eager, Xia Chuan couldn't say much more. "All right, you may go, but be prepared. Bring everyone along and have Zheng Fan lead the way. Go ahead." "Thank you, my lord. We will set off immediately." Yuan Dao nodded in agreement, gave a signal to Meng Yi and the other 3, and immediately led the way out of the house. Meng Yi and the other 3 didn't say a word, grabbed the still-reacting Zheng Fan, and went out straight away to notify people. After everyone left, Xi Ping walked to Xia Chuan's side and gravely said, "My lord, Han Guang has been quite aggressive recently. Though he did not say, it's clear that the 2 camps he brought back were coerced by him. Using such means to increase the camp's population is not a good thing at all." Xia Chuan shook his head, solemnly said, "Indeed, it's not a good thing. It seems he's determined to get the Pioneer Department Director position, not understanding the situation and just heading straight for Three Tigers camp. Let him suffer this time. Yuan Dao going there shouldn't lead to any major issues. When he comes back, I'll have a good talk with him. It's not just not a good thing, it's downright terrible. Great Xia has just undergone a merger, internally already not stable, and by using force to coerce other camps to join, not only won't it strengthen the camp, but it will make internal situations more complicated." Now that Xia Chuan is the minister, he certainly understands this. Han Guang, too, is paying for his actions now. Fortunately, Xi Ping today brought Zheng Fan, who knows the approximate location of the Three Tigers camp. From the information he gathered, although the Three Tigers camp is not small, its strength isn't significant due to its flawed development strategy. Yuan Dao taking many people there and finding the other party's residents, rescuing Han Guang, shouldn't be too hard. You should run over there more recently. This Three Tigers camp, if everything goes as expected, should be handled by Yuan Dao. Bring more people from other camps over. There are just 20 days until settlement. Make sure not to slip up. "Yes, my lord, I will certainly put in the effort." Xi Ping was full of vigor, nodding heavily. Xia Chuan remembered something and said, "By the way, inform Qiu Peng to help me prepare 10,000 pounds of iron ore, 3 longswords, and 1 10-stone iron bow. Notify me once it's done. I'm heading to the North Shore tonight." Hearing so much was prepared, Xi Ping first showed a surprised expression, but quickly realized something and asked, "My lord, are these supplies for the Zio He camp?" Seeing he guessed it, Xia Chuan didn't hide it, nodded and smiled. "This Zio Kangcheng is too cautious. We need to show our goodwill first. Let him understand the strength of our great Xia camp. It should make negotiations much smoother." Chapter 342. Chapter 178. Reciprocity Society and the Generous Gesture. "Xi Ping, what does the chief want with so many things?" On the south side of the valley, at the temporary supply place, Qiu Peng was organizing items while curiously asking Xi Ping beside him. 1,000 pounds of iron ore, 3 longswords, and a set of 10-stone iron bows, of course, don't mean much to the current Great Xia. The iron ore productivity alone is at least 300,000 pounds per month for the camp. Weaponry is even more exaggerated. Last time, over 4,700 pieces were hauled back from the Mirror Immortal camp. From broadswords and axes to spears and pikes, everything's available, and there's no shortage of longbows. There's no need for forging for a long time. But even though there's plenty, it's rare for a person to want so much at once. These supplies together are not cheap. 10 pounds of iron ore equals 1 point, a longsword is 300 points, and a 10-stone iron bow is 600 points. In total, this batch of supplies costs 2,500 contribution value points. Seeing Xi Ping's exaggerated expression upon hearing the price, Qiu Peng couldn't help but tease. "What, too expensive? This is after a recent price reduction of supplies. If it were before, I bet not many in the entire camp could come up with this many contribution points." Xi Ping nodded in agreement, knowing full well the dramatic price fluctuations in supplies from his previous work at the camp supply station. The recent reforms of Great Xia not only involved the 6 ministries of the camp, but also impacted many other aspects, including the pricing of supplies at the camp supply department, which had significant changes. The reason is simple. First, too many supplies were seized from the Mirror Immortal camp, and second, the camp's strength had changed, so corresponding rules also changed. First, strategic materials like iron could only be exchanged by those in the earth-digging realm, and personal exchanges have limits. Besides Xia Hong, others, including Xia Chuan, were strictly limited. Next is the pricing. When iron ore was scarce before, it took £10 for a point for subsidy surrender, and it required 10 points for a pound for exchange, seemingly harsh to the extreme, but essentially discouraging or even prohibiting personal exchanges. Everyone didn't have any complaints previously because, though the price of iron ore was ridiculously high, the prices of various iron products were relatively reasonable. Now, with the soaring extraction capacity, abundant treasury, and no urgent need beyond wooden buildings, the prices of iron ore and weaponry have naturally undergone major adjustments. The chief plans to send these supplies to the Xia Hong camp, so just deduct these 2,500 contribution value points from me. Upon hearing Xi Ping's words, Qiu Peng immediately showed a look of sudden realization, giving him a thumbs up, and smiled. I see, you're really putting in the effort. Seems like you are determined to secure the Pioneer Department Director position. Qiu Peng, though holding the position of Camp Supply Department Director, was also at the earth-digging realm, so he too had to join the hunting department. Coincidentally, both he and Xi Ping joined Xia Chuan's Cloud Jiao team. The matter of the Xia Hong camp wasn't kept secret by Xia Chuan, so he was aware of it too. It was evident that Xia Chuan sending supplies to the Xia Hong camp was to recruit people, and these people would ultimately be credited to Xi Ping. Let's go for it. With the chief bringing so many to help me, if I can't secure this director position, it would be too disappointing for him. 2,500 contribution value points were indeed a huge number for Xi Ping. He had just over 4,000 contribution value points in total, and this transaction took more than half of it, naturally making his heart ache. Having worked at the camp's supply department before, Xi Ping had some understanding of the contribution value balances held by everyone in the camp now. Among those with the most contribution value and resources now are the 15 members of the original hunting team, owing to the period of frenzied hunting of intermediate cold beasts with Xia Hong, leaving most of them with more points than they could spend. Xi Ping's group came next, which were those 50+ breaking through to the earth-digging realm later, mostly having between 2,000 to 3,000 points, thanks to the cold beast wave and later battles at the Mirror Immortal camp, which earned them a lot. Xi Ping himself performed exceptionally in both events, notably aiding Xia Chuan in fire control during the cold beast wave, earned recognition, and received part of a special reward. Otherwise, his contribution value wouldn't differ much from others. I'll notify the others. You should also prepare. The chief is about to head to the North Shore and will follow tonight. Hearing this, Qiu Peng nodded, remembering something before he opened his mouth to ask. By the way, you and Dao just went out with many people. Is it to find Han Guang? The hunting department counts everyone every night, and the Xuanwu team led by Han Guang, totaling 7 people, did not return last night. They all knew. Xi Ping nodded and said, the chief just gathered Yuan Dao and Meng Yi to inquire about the situation. Han Guang went to that 3 Tigers camp, likely due to a problem occurring. Yuan Dao was worried about their safety and went to the North Shore to find them first. Qiu Peng shook his head, saying in a grave tone, that Han Guang is a bit rash. The last 2 groups he brought back had problems, and now he's looking directly for that 3 Tigers camp. There's likely nothing good to come of it. Xi Ping didn't respond, but his face showed agreement. Based on the current gathered intel, the people of that 3 Tigers camp were evidently not decent folks. Han Guang, making no preparations and rashly visiting them to discuss annexation, was bound to face poor consequences. Chapter 343. Chapter 178, Reciprocal Meeting and Big Moves /2. Yuan Dao is very strong, so there shouldn't be any problems. Hopefully, Han Guang and the others will be fine. Let's stop chatting and get ready to depart soon. Seeing Xi Ping leave with his things, Qiu Peng started packing up as well. The Xia Hong camp inside the cave. In the outer storage space, Xiao Ning was leading a group as they loaded the coal stones into beast skin bags. 8 bags were already filled, occupying nearly half of the coal stones on the ground. Big sister, isn't 40,000 pounds enough already? My hands are about to go numb. How many more bags do we have to pack? Xia Hong put a piece of coal stone into a bag, rubbed his sore arm, and couldn't help looking up at Xia Ning to ask. Pa? Before Xia Ning could speak, second sister Xia Yu smacked him on the head and scolded, "Just concentrate on your work. Where do you get so many questions from? You haven't packed much, but you sure have a lot of complaints." "Second sister, spare me. I'll keep collecting, I'll keep collecting." Xia Hong grinned sheepishly and bent down to pick up more coal stones. Seeing this, the others nearby couldn't help but chuckle softly. Xia Ning witnessed this scene and couldn't help but smile too. The third child, Xia Hong, was spoiled at home. He was usually fearless except when he saw second sister Xia Yu, then he became like a mouse meeting a cat. Indeed, everyone has their Achilles heel. Seeing the fatigue on the faces of everyone collecting coal stones, she remarked, "Just 2 more bags and we'll be done. Let's take a break and rest for a while." Their expressions relaxed considerably, and after putting away the coal stones, they all sat down to rest. "Big sister, we need to prepare 50,000 pounds of coal stones this time. Is it really that much?" After stopping, Xia Yu walked directly to Xia Ning and asked. Xia Ning nodded and said, "It's the last mutual exchange meeting before the cold tide. We need to trade for Chengguo, beast skin, bowstrings, external medicine, and most importantly, iron ore. That's why we prepared so many coal stones." Upon hearing this, Xia Yu's face showed a trace of worry. Living at 5-8 Mountain presents this inconvenience. There is a cold tide period that lasts 2 months every year. This cold tide is caused by the frozen river to the south. Though the river is covered with thick ice, strangely every 10 months there is still a flood season. When the flood season arrives, the ice on the river's surface keeps rising and spreading toward the north shore, causing the temperature in the 5-8 Mountain area to plummet. This entire process lasts for 2 months, which is collectively known as the cold tide period for all camps near 5-8 Mountain. During the cold tide, apart from those in the earth-digging realm who can venture out, those in the logging realm and ordinary people can only hide in the mountain caves. Otherwise, survival is impossible. The problem is that during the cold tide, due to the drop in temperature, the vegetation on the north shore also freezes, and the cold beasts flee, so even if the earth-digging realm ventures out, the resources they can gather are extremely limited, insufficient to sustain the entire camp. Thus, the last mutual exchange meeting before the cold tide becomes crucial, and all camps take it seriously, hoping to trade for enough supplies to survive the cold tide period. Xia Yu was also acquainted with the mutual exchange meeting, and looking at the 8 bags of packed coal stones on the ground, couldn't help but shake her head. "It's a pity that our Xia He camp doesn't have any iron ore. I've heard from father that at the exchange meeting, it takes 20 to 25 pounds of coal to trade for 1 pound of iron ore. Even if we were to use all 50,000 pounds of coal just for iron, we'd only get over 2,000 pounds. It's a huge loss for us." Upon hearing this, Xia Ning laughed bitterly and shook her head. "There's no choice. Coal can be substituted, but iron cannot. On this side of 5-8 Mountain, other than 3 Tigers camp, only 2 other camps have iron ore, so naturally they set the prices. While the mining thresholds for coal and iron are the same, their scarcity levels are completely different." Xia Ning hadn't finished explaining. Coal not only has alternatives, but also has significantly higher underground reserves than iron. For a medium-sized camp, finding a coal mine isn't too difficult. Just look for trees with golden tinges on the surface and dig downward along the roots. But finding iron ore is much harder. Among the 11 medium-sized camps on 5-8 Mountain, almost every camp has coal mines, but only 2 have iron mines, which says enough about the scarcity of iron ore. Trading 20 pounds of coal for 1 pound of iron is undoubtedly a loss, but they have no other option. If they're not trading with those 2 camps at the mutual exchange meeting, should they go to 3 Tigers camp? That's impossible. After all, those 2 camps only want your coal and they trade through normal channels, whereas 3 Tigers camp wants your life. Any sensible person knows the difference. Xia Ning pondered for a moment and said, with a hint of regret, "Last time, father was too hasty. The great Xia camp probably also has iron ore. If we could have talked more with big brother Xia Chuan, we might have managed to trade for iron ore at a lower price through him." Hearing this, Xia Hong instantly perked up and nodded, "Right, big sister. That long knife hanging on Xia Chuan's waist, even the scabbard is made of iron. Their great Xia camp surely has a lot of iron ore, probably more than they can use." Xiao Yu seemed a bit dissatisfied and retorted, "Big sister, you're thinking too optimistically. That Xia Chuan might just be a big fraud like Uncle Yuan and the others guessed, exactly like Three Tigers Camp, just here to deceive us." Upon hearing this, Xiao Ning lowered her head in thought for a moment but didn't say anything. Chapter 344. Chapter 178, Reciprocal Meeting and Big Moves /3. That's true, after all, Xia Chuan was just a passing acquaintance. Even though she instinctively felt that he was not like the people from the Three Tigers camp, she didn't have any solid evidence to confirm he was a good person. As for trying to trade iron ore from the great Xia camp at a low price, it was just talk and couldn't be taken seriously. Strangers are approaching, everyone come back quickly. Suddenly, a quick shout came from outside the cave, and Xiao Ning and the others who were resting immediately changed their expressions and quickly sprang up from the ground. "Hanger and the others get inside. You are come with me to check it out." Xiao Ning quickly grabbed her bow and arrow, called out to the others, and ran straight toward the cave entrance. Xiao Hen and the others who were working, although worried, hurriedly ran inside the cave. They were different from Xiao Ning and Xiao Yu, having only the cultivation of the logging realm. They wouldn't be of much help outside and could become a burden. The sisters had just rushed out of the cave when they discovered their father, Xiao Qingcheng, standing fully armed with 21 others of the earth-digging realm, guarding the entrance. "Father, what's going on?" Xiao Qingcheng didn't speak, keeping a serious expression, but a middle-aged man next to him turned to Xiao Ning and said, "I was on duty on the outskirts tonight and just noticed a few people sneaking around nearby as if they knew the location of our cave. They kept getting closer, so I thought something was wrong and came back to report to the leader." Upon hearing this, Xiao Ning's expression also became grave. The discovery of their camp's location was not a good thing. Especially during this cold wave period, there's talk of the Three Tigers camp lacking people and trying to annex other camps, and if they were discovered, a fierce battle would be inevitable. "Look over there!" Someone suddenly shouted, and everyone looked in the direction he pointed, their faces darkened at what they saw. In the dense forest to the south of the cave, 3 torches were quickly approaching, and the people holding them had obviously seen the cave and were moving rapidly closer. "It's too late to seal the cave now. Let everyone hide inside first, see who they are, and then take action." Xiao Qingcheng spoke, and everyone's expressions turned nervous as they gripped their weapons, staring at the approaching torches from the south without daring to relax for a moment. It might not be people from the Three Tigers camp. It could be someone from another camp lost and in the wrong place. Even if it's people from the Three Tigers camp, I'm not scared. Worst case, I'll fight them. No matter how strong they are, they can't force me to be a slave. Why panic? At worst, we can just hide inside the cave. Even though they said this, the increasingly heavy tone still betrayed their anxious feelings. "Sir, found it. It's here. It's here. The cave has a light. It must be Xiao He camp. Notify the others to come over." Beep. With the 3 torches only about 100 meters away, their unguarded voices clearly reached Xiao Qingcheng and the others. The content of the 3 men's words undoubtedly added to their heavy mood. The last bone whistle sound was clearly summoning nearby people, something they, as frequent travelers, were well aware of. Sure enough, no more than 10 breaths after the whistle, 6 more torches approached rapidly from the sides, and in just a moment the group had gathered. "It's manageable, not too many people. Let's see what's going on." Seeing there were only 9 people, Xiao Qingcheng's expression relaxed a lot, showing a hint of aggression, and he led the others a few steps toward the south. But just as he moved, a cheerful voice came from the opposite side. "Leader Xiao, it's been 10 days. I trust you've been well. Xia Chuan is here to visit again." Upon hearing this familiar voice, the people on Xiao Qingcheng's side were stunned. Xiao Ning, however, showed a hint of delight in her eyes, which her sister Xiao Yu saw clearly. "It's brother Xia Chuan, not people from the Three Tigers camp." Hearing the joy in his daughter's voice, Xiao Qingcheng's brows furrowed, but then gradually relaxed. At the same time, the 9 people approaching were also clearly seen by them. Seeing this, Xiao Qingcheng and the others couldn't take their eyes off them. 10 days ago, upon seeing Xia Chuan at first glance, they were stunned by his attire, not just the Xiao Yu siblings but also Xiao Ning, Xiao Qingcheng, and the other earth-digging realm individuals. That well-crafted black cloak, blue beast fur hat, black beast skin boots, and the slender long knife with an iron sheath hanging from his waist, along with the iron token he left for them. Now they found that the 8 people accompanying Xia Chuan wore identical clothes, had similar tokens at their waists, weapons sheathed at their sides, and even carried bows and arrows on their backs. One of them even had 2 sets on his back. What is this showing off wealth? Xiao Kengcheng looked a bit surprised, but as Xia Chuan got closer, he still slightly cupped his hands and said, "Xia Chuan, sir, may I ask why you have come here?" To have 9 earth-digging realm individuals following like that, and some even carrying things, clearly in a subordinate manner, the words virtual nephew could not come out of Xiao Kengcheng's mouth no matter what. Even though he changed the address to sir, Xiao Kengcheng still tried to soften his tone, not to be so stiff. This level of vigilance is quite something. Seeing Xiao Kengcheng's cautious inquiry, Xia Chuan sighed internally but quickly put on a smile. As he approached, he signaled Ping and the others beside him to take out the 3 items. Chapter 345, Chapter 178, Reciprocal Meeting and Big Moves /4. 10 minutes later, at the outer layer of the cave, Xiao Kengcheng, along with Xiao Ning, Xiao Yu, and all the people of the earth-digging realm from the Xiao He camp, were all looking down at the 3 items on the ground, their faces full of disbelief, numbness, and a touch of incredulous joy. 10,000 pounds of iron ore, 3 longswords, and a 10,000-pound iron embryo bow, just given to our camp like this. Am I dreaming? Is this Lord Xia Chuan crazy? A group of earth-digging realm individuals looked up at Xia Chuan, their eyes full of confusion. Only Xiao Kengcheng seemed to think of something, suddenly turning his head to glance at his eldest daughter, Xiao Ning, before continuing to look at Xia Chuan, with an expression whose thoughts were unknown. Xiao Ning naturally noticed her father's gaze, her face suddenly turning red, and the hand holding the bow and arrow began to tremble slightly unconsciously. Lord Xia Chuan, our camp does indeed need these supplies, whatever you require as long as Ninger agrees. Leader Xiao, don't misunderstand. I'm giving these things simply because the last time I came, I noticed that your camp seemed to be in urgent need of such supplies. With the impending cold wave, I hope these supplies can be of some help to you. All of Xiao Kengcheng's expressions were noticed by Xia Chuan, and Ping and a few others beside him couldn't help but lower their heads and chuckle softly. If he didn't speak up to interrupt, Xiao Kengcheng would probably entrust his daughter to him on the spot, which Xia Chuan naturally couldn't help. Upon hearing Xia Chuan's words, Xiao Kengcheng looked up to meet his gaze, saw the sincerity in his eyes, and the hesitation on his face finally gradually disappeared, followed by a slight sigh. Lord Xia Chuan, could you tell me more about the situation at the Great Xia camp? The last time they met, he only saw Xia Chuan's extraordinary nature, and naturally had doubts about what he said regarding the Great Xia camp. But this time it's different. He just touched the 3 longswords, each weighing 700 to 800 pounds, the 10,000-pound iron embryo bow, which in the 5-8 mountain area, every camp except the 3 Tigers camp regards as a treasure, in addition to 10,000 pounds of iron ore. Such a generous offering at once, even if he doesn't believe it, his mind begins to waver. This great Xia likely has strength far beyond his imagination. Of course, more crucially, Xiao Kengcheng understands that Xia Chuan couldn't give these things to them for no reason. The purpose is simply the same as last time, wanting them to merge into Great Xia. If there truly is a camp, not only stronger than they are, but also capable of providing a better life for over 1,000 of their people, far from resisting, Xiao Kengcheng would be genuinely delighted. He is just afraid of happenings like the case with the 3 Tigers camp, worried that after taking people across, they would not only fail to live a good life, but rather become more miserable. Since Great Xia has such intentions and is willing with such generous gestures to express goodwill, Xiao Kengcheng, of course, lowered his guard, actively exploring to understand more about Great Xia. Sensing his shift in attitude, Xia Chuan, seeing the generous gesture of goodwill was effective, his smile became even thicker, and at Xiao Kengcheng's invitation, he entered the cave and began to chat with him. Compared to the first time, after Xiao Kengcheng completely let down his guard, this conversation became much smoother. Xiao Kengcheng was noticeably eager to inquire about the situation of the Great Xia camp, almost directly asking what benefits there were in merging with Great Xia. This time, Xia Chuan did not directly respond to these questions, but deliberately shifted the topic to the overall situation of the 5-8 mountain area. And through this conversation, Xiao Qingcheng realized that Xia Chuan already knew why he was so cautious in the first place, not only familiar with the situation regarding the Three Tigers camp, but also had a certain understanding of the overall situation in the 5-8 mountain area. How could the Lord be so knowledgeable about the situation in the 5-8 mountain area? Hearing Xiao Qingcheng's question, Xia Chuan revealed a slight smile and said, "To tell you the truth, Leader Xiao, 4 camps over here in the 5-8 mountain area have already merged into our great Xia a few days ago, and it is through them that I've come to know some situations here. However, those 4 are all small camps and don't know much. This time I'm also hoping to learn more about the other camps here through Leader Xiao. I hope Leader Xiao can tell me more." This remark made Xiao Qingcheng's thoughts race. Realizing something, he suddenly looked up at Xia Chuan with a hint of shock in his eyes. The meaning in Xia Chuan's words was very clear. How could he not understand? The Great Xia Camp wants to merge all the human camps in the 5-8 mountain area. Does this Great Xia have such an appetite? After pondering for a long time, Xiao Qingcheng, with a tone of goodwill, reminded, "Since you know about the Three Tigers camp, you should also be aware that if your camp truly has such a plan, it will definitely not be able to bypass them. Thus, Leader Xiao, rest assured that Three Tigers camp acts so outrageously, our great Xia will naturally not stand by idly. Otherwise, there should be a big trouble happening to them now." It seemed to verify Xia Chuan's words. Hardly had Xiao Qingcheng's suspicious look faded when someone came in to report from outside. "Leader, there's a stranger outside. He said his name is Qiu Peng, and he has come to find Lord Xia Chuan. His attire does indeed match theirs." After the report, Xiao Qingcheng immediately looked towards Xia Chuan. Getting a sign from him, he nodded at the messenger. Soon Qiu Peng, dressed similarly to the others, was brought in. Without saying anything upon seeing, Qiu Peng walked directly to Xia Chuan's side, a slight smile on his face. He cupped his hands and said, "Reporting to the Lord, Director Yuan has already rescued the people, captured quite a few, and seemed very angry. It appears that Han Guang's team encountered a considerable issue." Upon hearing this, Xia Chuan's expression condensed but soon recovered, nodding at Qiu Peng with a slight wave of his hand, and then continued to look at Xiao Qingcheng, smiling as he said, "Leader Xiao, shall we continue?" At this moment, Xiao Qingcheng had some trepidation in his heart, continuously pondering the meaning behind Qiu Peng's words. Although vaguely having some guesses, he found it unbelievable and could only continue discussing the situation in the 5-8 mountain area with Xia Chuan. Compared to the previously merged 4 camps into Great Xia, as a leader of a mid-sized camp, Xiao Qingcheng clearly had a comprehensive understanding of the situation in the 5-8 mountain area. Soon enough, Xia Chuan had a clear outline of the overall situation in the 5-8 mountain area in his mind. Including the Xiaohe camp, the 5-8 mountain area has a total of 11 mid-sized camps. The approximate population of these camps, their locations, how many have the earth-digging realm, even the tempers of these camp leaders. And upon learning that the day after tomorrow is the final exchange meeting before the cold wave, where people from all 11 mid-sized camps will be present, Xia Chuan's eyes lit up as he inquired about the various details of this exchange meeting. Once he found out the location of the exchange meeting, Xia Chuan, filled with excitement, thanked them and spoke about Xiao Qingcheng's most concerning issue. "Leader Xiao, you probably still want to investigate the specifics of our Great Xia just like last time, where words alone don't convey as much as direct observation. How about this? Leader Xiao selects a few people, and tonight they can come with me back to the Great Xia station to observe thoroughly. I will personally bring them back the day after tomorrow. By then, Leader Xiao can ask them how's that." Xiao Qingcheng nodded slightly, confirming that it was indeed the best way. But then who should be sent? "Father, let me go." During the conversation just now, Xiao Ning's eyes were always on Xia Chuan, which Xiao Qingcheng had long noticed, and she actually took the initiative to speak out, wanting to follow him to Great Xia, making Xiao Qingcheng shake his head repeatedly in his heart. This daughter most likely cannot be kept. "Father, I want to go too." Xiao Qingcheng was surprised, turning his head to look at his second daughter, Xiao Yu, and his eyes gradually revealed a color of suspicion. "Father, let me go too." Slap. When his son Xiao Hin spoke up, Xiao Qingcheng couldn't help but gave him a big slap on the face. Get lost, get lost. What are you going to join the fun for? Hello. Hello. The scene made everyone smile. Even Xia Chuan sitting across couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle softly a few times. Xiao Yuan, you take Ninger and Yuer for the trip. In the end, Xiao Qingcheng sent the steadier elder, Xiao Yuan, to take his 2 daughters on the trip. Chapter 346, Chapter 179, 3 Tigers Fall, Witnessing and Floral Heart Happy New Year. It's so warm here. Why is everyone wearing animal skin clothing, and in different colors? So much coal, Uncle Yuan. Look over there, there's so much coal. Iron ore, so much of it just lying on the ground. So many weapons and cold beast meat. That red one, what is it? They don't live in caves. Obviously no fire lit in this valley. How is it so warm, big sister? Look, even the children have clothes to wear. Big sister, quickly look. Despite being mentally prepared, when they actually followed Xia Chuan and his group to arrive at the Great Xia Valley, Xiao Yuan, Xiao Ning, and Xiao Yu were still stunned by everything before them. Surveying the people and things in the valley, the pupils of the 3 were full of shock and emotion, and they stood frozen in place. The 3 of you, please continue to move forward. Only when Xia Chuan called out did the 3 come to their senses. Upon seeing the smiles on Xia Chuan and the others' faces, they all looked a bit embarrassed and hurriedly followed along. Just like the others who had earlier integrated into Great Xia, there was no need for Xia Chuan and the others to explain. Just the abundance of supplies and buildings within the Great Xia Valley left Xiao Yuan and the others in awe for a long time. After walking a little over 100 meters and roughly taking in the whole situation within the Great Xia Valley, their expressions turned even more touched, and no one along the way initiated any questions, as if they had forgotten they came with a mission. Xia Chuan, who was leading the way ahead, was about to say something when someone suddenly ran over in a hurry and bowed to him. Zhu Qing of the heroic team greets Lord Minister. Seeing 3 unfamiliar people following behind Xia Chuan, Zhu Qing paused for a moment, then leaned in close to Xia Chuan's ear and whispered a few words. Understood, have Zhu Yuan wait for me in the main hall. I'll head over immediately. After listening, Xia Chuan frowned but still gestured for Zhu Qing to leave first, then turned to Xiao Yuan and the others, smiling. Uncle Xiao, I have an urgent matter to attend to. I'll have Qiu Peng show you around. Feel free to ask any questions of him, okay? Xiao Yuan hurriedly bowed, showing respect. No need to be polite, sir. If you have important matters, go ahead and handle them. We'll take a look around on our own. Xia Chuan nodded, gave Qiu Peng a look, and headed towards the wooden house on the left, followed by Shi Ping and the others. Left alone, Qiu Peng looked at Xiao Yuan and the others, smiling as he invited them. Gentlemen, please follow me. Qiu Peng, as the director of the camp supply department, was in charge of the entire camp's supplies and contribution value ledgers, making him the most suitable person to guide Xiao Yuan and the others on the tour. The temporary wooden house on the left, the main hall of the compartment. As soon as Xia Chuan and the group walked in, they saw a row of strangers bound with ropes kneeling on the ground. There were 17 of them, all middle-aged, wearing full sets of beast skin clothing despite being injured. Their expressions were defiant, emanating a fierce aura, and when Xia Chuan entered, their eyes swiftly turned towards him. Though these people hid it well, Xia Chuan still detected the faint, vicious glint deep in their eyes. Especially the 2 in the lead. The one on the left had a fresh scar by his eye, and the one on the right was missing a left arm, with the most evident vicious glint in their eyes. Lord! Seated on a chair, Zhu Yuan rose immediately to salute upon seeing Xia Chuan enter. The 17 kneeling below, upon seeing this scene, immediately had a change of expression. When Xia Chuan entered just now, they thought he was just an ordinary member of the camp, given his youthful appearance, but did not expect Zhu Yuan to show such respect to him. A few hours ago, they had clashed with Zhu Yuan and his group. Knowing how terrifying his strength was, this young man could command Zhu Yuan's respect, which meant his strength and status were likely far beyond their imagination. Despite already having guesses about the identity of the 17 on the ground, after Xia Chuan walked to the front and sat on a chair, he still turned and asked Zhu Yuan, "What's going on? Who are these people? Hasn't Yuan Dao returned?" Zhu Yuan nodded, swiftly recounting the previous experience of Yuan Dao taking people to find Han Guang. Last night with Zheng Fan leading the way, Yuan Dao's group quickly located the campsite of the Three Tigers camp. In his eagerness to save people, Yuan Dao casually grabbed a solitary person, interrogated them, and confirmed that Hong Guang was being held at the camp, and immediately took action. Even though Three Tigers camp had a considerable number of over 2,000, they were very weak in terms of strength, with only about 40 in the so-called earth-digging realm, including those so-called Three Tigers. Last night, Yuan Dao not only brought his Dragon Wu team but also the team of Hong Tian, Zhu Ling, Zhu Yuan and Meng Yi, totaling 35 people, fully armed without any fear. Hearing this, Xia Chuan showed a hint of confusion on his face. The development level of human camps around 5-8 Mountain was indeed far behind Great Xia, whether in strength or weaponry. But the issue is, no matter how far behind, it shouldn't be possible for a camp of over 2,000 to be taken down by Yuan Dao and just 34 people, right? Originally, it shouldn't have been so smooth. After all, the Three Tigers camp had over 2,000 people. Even though there weren't many in the earth-digging realm, there were quite a few in the logging realm, and the Lord hesitated for a moment whether to notify the minister first before rescuing Hong Guang and the others. Seeing the confusion on Xia Chuan's face, Zhu Ling quickly explained, but as he spoke, his tone suddenly turned indignant, first turning to look at the 17 kneeling on the ground, then spoke to Xia Chuan. Chapter 347. Chapter 179. Three Tigers Fall, Witnessing and Floral Heart Happy New Year, /2. These beasts, they have completely lost people's hearts. When Lord Yu Wen first captured that person, he turned against us as soon as he heard that we intended to attack the Three Tigers camp. Not only did that person tell us the residences of the three leaders, but he also said that the only ones truly supporting those three leaders inside the camp were just over 20 in the earth-digging realm, along with over 100 of their family members. Almost everyone else held grudges against them. As long as we could deal with the few at the top, the rest would join us in an uprising to attack them together. Xia Chuan listened with a frown, and by the time he heard the whole story, his gaze towards the 17 people on the ground had become frigid. It seems that the previous information gathered was very likely true. This Three Tigers camp truly is a cancer in the 5-8 Mountain area. Zhu Ling continued, these beasts specifically built a large prison at the camp to detain the family members of the earth-digging realm and some disobedient people, using these means to threaten others to become slave laborers. If anyone causes trouble, they cripple their family members, using them as bait during hunts. That's for those with some use. For ordinary people without value, their fate was even worse. Men were beaten or killed at will, while women were wantonly violated. Not only in that prison but the whole camp, it had turned into a demonic lair. There were 23 of them in total. 5 were killed last night, 1 escaped, and when the remaining 17 were captured alive, those people almost tore these 17 apart if it weren't for the Lord stopping them, saying to take them back to the camp and hand them over to the Lord for punishment. They would certainly not be alive now. Their families, totaling over 100 people, were killed directly by the remaining people without the need for us to act. Although Zhu Ling didn't elaborate much, just listening, Xia Chuan could feel how heinous the crimes of the Three Tigers camp were. Lord, I am Liu Erhu. If my guess is correct, you must be the leader of the great Xia camp, right? Just as Xia Chuan's gaze became extremely cold, the leader of the group kneeling on the ground actually spoke up to him actively. Unexpectedly, Liu Erhu's voice was quite firm, with an air of equality, showing not the slightest sense of a prisoner's awareness. Zhu Ling spoke vaguely earlier, and the other party only heard of his position as a minister, thinking he was the leader. Seated on the chair, Xia Chuan turned his head to look at Liu Erhu without explaining, merely watching him quietly to see what he intended to say next. Receiving no response, Liu Erhu's expression tightened slightly, but he quickly adjusted his mindset, speaking with confidence. Lord, we did not know of your camp's strength previously, thus our offense. I hope the Lord will forgive us. Despite the plea for forgiveness, his words bore not a trace of apology. Seeing that he was clearly setting the stage for his subsequent words, Xia Chuan did not interrupt, but instead nodded slightly, seemingly encouraging him to continue. Noticing this, a hint of joy appeared on Liu Erhu's face as he continued. The great Xia camp must be in need of people right now. Erhu is willing to lead the brothers to join, and from now on, we shall all follow the Lord's lead. Sanhu is also willing to join. I am also willing to join your camp. I am willing to. Watching as the other 16 also spoke up one after another, requesting to join the great Xia camp, Xia Chuan lowered his head and did not say a word, instead turning to look at Zhu Ling. "You've killed 5 and 1 escaped. Was it that great tiger?" "In the 3 tigers' camp, Erhu and Sanhu are here. Only the great tiger is missing." Seeing Xia Chuan had guessed it, Zhu Ling wasn't surprised and nodded, saying that Liu Dahu, even though he started using beast blood, was still no match for the Lord Chief. Only he had a very powerful stick of unknown material, highly elastic yet extremely hard. It could even deflect the Lord Chief's sword, and in the end, he managed to escape. He was no match for Yuan Dao, only possessing a formidable weapon. Upon hearing this, Xia Chuan's expression relaxed considerably, fearing only Liu Dahu's strength was too great, ultimately disrupting the elder brother's cultivation. "We have too few people, and there are still over 2,000 people at the other camp. The Lord worried that migrating them all at once would be unsafe, hence letting me bring this batch back first to report to the minister, and then arrange manpower to safely migrate that batch together. Over 2,000 people with a 10 or so kilometer distance, relying on Yuan Dao's 30-odd men wasn't very safe. Moreover, with Liu Dahu on the loose, if he secretly played dirty tricks, the situation could get worse. That Liu Dahu has deep feelings for these 2 brothers and will likely try to rescue them. During our return trip, the Lord even escorted us for a while, but unfortunately, the other party never took the bait. Leaving evil unchecked leads to endless troubles. Evidently, Yuan Dao understood this principle too. It's just that this Liu Dahu seems exceedingly cunning, never having taken the bait." Xia Chuan glanced at the 17 people on the ground, suddenly thought of something, and asked, "By the way, what's the situation with the Qianwu team?" "Hong Guang must have been rescued, but based on last night's report from Qiu Peng, Yuan Dao was so angry, something must have happened." Upon this question from Xia Chuan, Zhu Ling's expression instantly became grave. "Tian Yu and Liu Zhuang died. Hong Guang and 4 others were tortured by them all night, suffering severe injuries. I brought them back, and they are recovering now." Chapter 348. Chapter 179. 3 Tigers Fall, Insights and Fond Hearts. Happy New Year, /3. 2 dead, 5 injured. The Qianwu team only consisted of 7 people in total. Upon hearing this, Xia Chuan's face instantly turned cold. Zhu Ling, filled with resentment, walked up to Liu Erhu and kicked him hard, then continued. "Hong Guang was tricked by this beast. When he went to meet him the night before, this bastard feigned to negotiate with him and let him stay overnight. Hong Guang knew it wasn't appropriate and refused. The bastard was cunning and suggested sending someone back to report. As a result, Hong Guang fell into the trap." Xia Chuan shook his head slightly, somewhat disappointed in Hong Guang. Obviously, Liu Erhu deliberately scattered their personnel. It was no surprise that the people Hong Guang sent back to report were Tian Yu and Liu Zhuang. Tian Yu and Liu Zhuang were sent back to report, only to be ambushed and killed by these beasts halfway. Hong Guang and the other 5 were also surrounded and captured alive. These beasts even wanted to follow the trail back to our great Xia. If it weren't for Hong Guang and the others' toughness and refusal to speak, they might have killed them before we got there. This last part from Zhu Ling slightly reassured Xia Chuan's heart, and somewhat restored Hong Guang's image in Xia Chuan's mind. Lord Erhu is sincerely willing to pledge allegiance. If great Xia is willing to accept us, Erhu is willing to persuade my brother to surrender. He is very strong and can definitely become the Lord's right-hand man. Lord Erhu sincerely wishes to pledge allegiance. Please, Lord, show mercy. Lord Erhu is sincere." Liu Erhu, who had been kicked to the ground by Zhu Ling, felt angry yet finally realized that Xia Chuan's earlier reactions were just deliberately teasing him. Despite his anger, he continued to plead loyalty to Xia Chuan, trying to win a glimmer of survival. However, Xia Chuan didn't pay any attention to him, and instead looked at Zhu Ling and said, "Take a rest for now. Tomorrow night notify Yuan Dao. The day after tomorrow I'll send people over to bring back those over 2,000 people. However, the night after tomorrow, there will be an exchange meeting at the 5-8 Mountain. 11 mid-sized camps will be there. I will." Listening to Xia Chuan's arrangements, Zhu Ling nodded from time to time, his eyes growing brighter and after a while, even showing an approving expression. At the same time, Liu Erhu below still hadn't stopped, but after a while of Xia Chuan ignoring him, he finally couldn't keep up the act. He lifted his head and roared angrily, "Ungrateful bastards, how strong can you great Xia be? With my brother's strength, you can't possibly capture him. If you dare to kill me, he will definitely avenge me. With his outburst, Liu Sanhu beside him also started to roar. You dare not kill me. That person last night was only scared off by my brother, which is why you didn't dare to kill me. What can bringing us here do? You wouldn't dare kill me, so just let me go. Even more outrageous, the 15 people kneeling behind them also joined in. Looking at the fierce faces of the 17 people, the intense brutality permeating their words interrupted Xia Chuan, whose eyes suddenly turned icy. Both Zhu Ling and Shi Ping, as well as others in the hall, had their expressions darkened significantly. The furious shouting of the 17 people continued. In this temporary wooden house, only 50 meters wide, the main hall was temporarily sectioned off, and their noise had attracted quite a few people nearby. After more than a dozen breaths, seeing that the 17 still wouldn't quiet down, Xia Chuan's expression gradually grew indifferent. He lifted his head to signal Shi Ping and the Cloud Jiao team. Shi Ping and the other 8 directly drew their swords and walked to the back of the group. Crack, crack, crack. A series of crisp slicing sounds instantly quieted the entire main hall. The foremost Liu Erhu and Liu Sanhu looked back at the 15 bodies behind them, headless, and instantly felt their entire bodies grow cold, their pupils filled with fear, and they trembled uncontrollably. All killed, all killed. How could he dare, how could he dare? Mercy, Lord Mercy, we were wrong. I was wrong, Lord Mercy, we were wrong. Don't kill me, Lord, I can help you capture my brother. Spare me, Lord, I beg you to spare my life. Noisy. Plop, plop. With Xia Chuan's furious yell, Shi Ping immediately understood, pulled out 2 iron arrows and shot them, sealing the mouths of both. The main hall finally quieted down. Hearing the strange sounds coming from the two, Xia Chuan shook his head. These 2 beasts still have some use. Find a place to lock them up for now and take them to 5-8 Mountain the day after tomorrow. Shi Ping nodded and directly took the 2 out. In the wooden house on the left, not far from the main hall in a room dedicated to placing the wounded, a heavily injured Han Guang lay on a bed, his expression somewhat hollow as he stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. Hong Yu, who had just applied golden healing powder for him, sat at the bedside. Seeing his father's expression, he knew what was on his mind. After hesitating for a moment, he comforted. Father, Tian Yu and Liu Zhuang were just accidents. Don't blame yourself too much. Han Guang's eyes were void, continuing to stare at the ceiling without moving, as if he hadn't heard his son's words. Seeing Han Guang still not speaking, Hong Yu was about to continue. Snap! A hand with a black sleeve, crystalline like jade, suddenly patted his shoulder. Hong Yu turned his head, saw the appearance of the newcomer, was first stunned, then immediately became emotional, quickly stood up, wanting to bow in salute. Chapter 349. Chapter 179. 3 Tigers Fall, Insights and Fond Hearts. Happy New Year, /4. Unfortunately, before he could even bow, he was held up by the man. There's no need for formalities. Han Guang, I've come to see you. Han Guang, lying on the bed, heard this voice, and his originally vacant eyes immediately regained their brightness. He turned his head, seeing the young man in black standing by his bedside. He struggled to get up. You've been tormented to this extent. There's no need for formalities, just lie there. Upon hearing this, Han Guang's face was full of shame, and he said, Leader, this time it was my stupidity. I was deceived, resulting in the death of 2 brothers, and even involved Lord Chief, who brought so many people to save me. I am willing to accept any punishment. The man in black was naturally Xia Hong. As soon as he found out that someone had died in the camp, he couldn't sit still. After understanding the situation, he directly came to find Han Guang. Hearing the remorse in Han Guang's tone, Xia Hong's expression softened a bit, but he still said sternly, Your stupidity is not just about being deceived. Hearing this, Han Guang froze. The 2 camps you recently brought in used coercion. It was basically forced with martial power, wasn't it? Leader, the people on the 5-8 Mountain side are too defensive and hard to communicate with. I forced them to come to the camp first. Once they experience the benefits, they will naturally integrate into our great Xia. Is there anything wrong with this approach? If that's the case, then why do I need you people to go there? With one sentence from Xia Hong, Han Guang was instantly stunned. Standing next to him, Hong Yu's expression also momentarily stiffened, but he quickly reacted. looking at Xia Hong with a touch of admiration in his eyes. And after being stunned for a while, Hong Guang slowly processed it in his mind, and his facial expression began to change. He wasn't foolish. How could he not understand the implications of Xia Hong's words? If it were so simple to bring people over by force, the leader could act himself, and who on the 5-8 mountain would dare to resist? With over 3,000 people from Mirror Immortal's family coming over, there are already so many minds to manage. On the 5-8 mountain, there are nearly 20 camps, and if I took them all in at once, then Great Xia's people would be a mix of good and bad. It could take years to resolve internal unity problems, and even then, it might not be satisfactorily resolved. What's the point of such expansion? Lying on the bed, after hearing this, Hong Guang's face was already full of regret. Standing beside him, Hong Yu also had a few drops of cold sweat on his forehead. Xia Hong's first sentence was pointing to his father's attempt to compete for the position of the Pioneer Department Director, and he could certainly hear it. Originally, one might have assumed that the leader, continuously in seclusion, knew nothing, yet he was aware of everything. Just a mere 3 Tigers camp, an entire hunting team, 6 Earth-Digging Realm members, including you at the peak of Earth-Digging Realm, nearly all got wiped out. Tian Yu and Liu Zhuang essentially died in your place, so it's proper for you to feel guilty. Xia Hong's tone grew serious. In his eyes, the strength of the 3 Tigers camp was extremely weak, and such mistakes should not have been made. Hong Guang made them, and naturally, he wouldn't be lenient. You will take care of the families of Tian Yu and Liu Zhuang from now on, but you cannot let them know. Each month, it will be deducted from your contribution value. You don't need to compete for the Pioneer Department Director position. Furthermore, the Xuanwu team is to be disbanded from today, and your remaining 5 members will join other hunting teams. 3 punishments, each heavier than the last. Especially the last, upon hearing the direct dissolution of the Xuanwu team, Hong Guang showed urgency on his face, wanting to say something, but his mouth trembled for a long while without a single word being uttered. Do you have any objections to my handling? Hong Guang, lying on the bed, shook his head, was silent for a long time, and then slowly spoke. No, I am willing to be punished. That's good, get well soon. When you break through to the cold resistance level, I'll give you a chance to rebuild the Xuanwu team. Upon hearing this, Hong Guang's expression immediately became excited. He instinctively wanted to open his mouth to express gratitude, but when he looked up, Xia Hong had vanished. Hong Yu, standing beside Xia Hong, was even more astonished. He had merely lowered his head for a moment. In that moment, Xia Hong had disappeared. The leader's strength is terrifying. Hong Yu's admiration for Xia Hong instantly skyrocketed. Father, do you think Brother Tao can withstand 3 moves from the leader? Upon hearing his son's question, Hong Guang's face showed a trace of astonishment, and then, recalling something, he immediately shook his head. You endow 3 moves. What a joke. Xia Hong back then could even kill He Yuanhun. Though only over 10 days had passed, Hong Guang clearly felt that Xia Hong's strength had become much more terrifying than before. At the edge of the forge behind the valley, the sisters Xiao Ning and Xiao Yu watched people coming in and out of the forge's entrance, their hands holding all sorts of weapons and tools, as well as some large iron materials, their faces full of envy and emotion. Those large pieces of iron are used to build that wooden building. I just heard Qiu Peng say that once that wooden building is completed, everyone in the camp can live in it. After speaking, Xiao Yu continued, those 2 wooden buildings are just their temporary accommodations. I really don't know what the scene will be like once that wooden building is completed. Xiao Ning nodded, recalling the information she had just gathered. Her face still reflected a touch of disbelief. A cold beast tide exceeding 500 beasts, and Great Xia could actually withstand it. Their strength is incredible. That leader, the brother of Lord Xia Chuan, just how powerful is he? If only I could see him with my own eyes. Xiao Yu also showed a trace of yearning in her eyes. In her eyes, Xia Chuan was already an extraordinary figure. His brother, in the eyes of the Great Xia people, was even more of a godlike figure. She truly wondered what kind of charisma he possessed. Uncle Yuan was taken to see Brother Xia Chuan. Little Yu, it seems inevitable we will live in Great Xia from now on. Hearing this, Xiao Yu excitedly nodded. Compared to the resource-deprived Xiao, no, it should be said the entire 5-8 mountain, the Daxia camp was extremely wealthy. All sorts of wooden products, beast skin products, clothes, tools, medicines, weapons, beast meat, beast blood. Not only wealthy but also powerful, with a safer and more comfortable environment. Most importantly, the operational system of the entire camp was highly rational. We all have earth-digging realm cultivation. According to Great Xia's regulations, we'll enter the hunting department, join a hunting team, and earn contribution points ourselves. We'll not only be able to exchange for finished weapons but also exchange for iron ore and have the forge customize weapons we like. Listening to the excitement in Xiao Yu's tone, Xiao Ning chuckled softly. She saw things, of course, from a more profound perspective than her sister. The most important thing is the cold beast meat. One contribution value can exchange for 2 pounds of beast meat. This means that for us, cultivation will never lack beast meat again. If father and the others knew, they would surely be delighted. Xiao Yu nodded, recalling the scarcity of beast meat around 5-8 Mountain, her spirit even more uplifted, and her eyes full of desire to join Great Xia. I've heard the contribution value system was created by brother Xia Chuan and his brother together. They are incredibly smart. With such a system in place, the development and growth of Great Xia is just a matter of time. By joining now, we might witness the rise of a colossal force in the future. Xiao Yu couldn't discern the deep meaning in Xiao Ning's words. She only noticed Xiao Ning's admiration when she mentioned Xia Chuan and immediately giggled and teased. Sister, I think you're getting impatient. Could it be that your heart is moved and you're in such a hurry to be closer to someone? Hearing her sister's teasing, Xiao Ning's cheeks turned crimson, and she raised her hand as if to hit her. But just as she moved, her expression suddenly changed, and she looked up towards the wooden house on the left. What's wrong, sister? Xiao Yu had already moved away, and when she turned back to see Xiao Ning standing still, she followed her gaze but found nothing. She hurriedly asked. It seemed like someone was watching us. No, there's no one. Hearing Xiao Yu's words, Xiao Ning slightly furrowed her brow, but after looking around and confirming it was just a wall, she thought that this was the Great Xia station and wouldn't be dangerous, so she set her mind at rest. Maybe because I'm in a strange place, I'm being overcautious. Chapter 350, Chapter 180, Exchange Meeting Murder Great Xia Gospel. First year of the Great Xia, April 3rd. On the northern slope of the 5-8 Mountain, one peak of the 5-8 peaks, Xiao Kengcheng and his group of 3 steadily pushed a wooden cart forward on the snow. Why does this cart feel less taxing to push than last month? It seems like the ice layer on the ground has thickened. Hearing the conversation of the two beside him, Xiao Kengcheng's brows furrowed slightly. He drew his blade, lowered his body and stabbed it into the ground. After pulling out several pieces of broken ice and observing them, he said solemnly, "It has indeed thickened. Within a few days, the cold wave will officially arrive." The ground of the ice abyss world is perpetually covered with snow, under which lies a layer of ice. This ice layer usually doesn't change much, except during the cold wave period every year when it suddenly thickens 2 to 3 times. This is the basis by which the humans around the 5-8 Mountain determine the imminent arrival of the cold wave period. Although Lu Shun and Xiao Ping also possess cultivation in the earth-digging realm, they naturally lack the experience of a leader like Xiao Kengcheng. Upon hearing that the cold wave is only a few days away, the expressions of the two became noticeably more solemn. However, looking at the 10 bags of coal stone on the wooden cart, thinking of something, Lu Shun smiled and said, "This time, 50,000 pounds of coal stone, we can exchange it all for Cheng Guo and beast meat and still get some extra beast skin and external wound medicines. This cold wave, our camp, should have it a bit better." Not needing to exchange for iron makes it much more comfortable. Every exchange meeting, seeing Zhu and Tongling camps exchanging so many materials for iron ore, leaves me envious. Thanks to Lord Xia Chuan, who just handed out 10,000 pounds. Leader, do you think they have so much iron ore at Daxia camp that they can't use it all? Not just iron ore, but those 3 longswords and that 10,000 pounds iron embryo bow. I reckon only the 3 Tigers camp on the entire 5-8 Mountain has them. Zhu and Tongling camps couldn't produce such fine bows. Hearing their words, Xiao Kengcheng's face also showed a smile. The 3 items sent by Xia Chuan the day before yesterday, indeed, left them deeply shocked. Does Great Xia really have so much iron ore that they can't use it all? To Lu Shun's question, Xiao Kengcheng still dared not answer, his eyes flickering with a hint of hesitation. That might not necessarily be the case. We'll know once we see Xiao Yuan and Ninger with them. Lu Shun and Xiao Ping nodded at his words, a trace of anticipation in their eyes. The night before last, Xiao Yuan had taken Xiao Ning and Xiao Yu to see Xia, so they were aware and couldn't help but feel some anticipation. Perhaps Daxia Camp really is as Xia Chuan said. Leader, are you that sure that Xia Chuan will also come to the exchange meeting? Xiao Ping curiously asked. The night before last, Xia Chuan was at the camp, only inquiring about the time and place of the exchange meeting, not saying whether he would come or not. Yet Xiao Qingcheng was so sure of it that he set out with them as soon as night fell. Xiao Qingcheng pondered for a moment, then nodded. Haven't you noticed that he already knows quite a bit about the situation of the camps around the 5-8 mountain? I suspect that the Daxia camp has already figured out the lay of the land around here a long time ago. I even suspect that they might have already had actual contact with the Three Tigers camp. Had actual contact with the Three Tigers camp. Lu Shun and Xiao Ping exchanged a glance, a hint of surprise on their faces. Report to the Lord, Director Yuan has already rescued the people, capturing many, and looks very angry. Han Guang and their team must have faced some serious issues. Xiao Qingcheng recalled the words spoken into Xia Chuan's ear by the last person to arrive the night before last, and his speculations became even more certain. But since they were just speculations, he didn't directly tell the two of them. The three continued to push the cart forward, soon circling around to the mountain wall at the northern slope. Seeing 3 large trees lined up not far away, Xiao Qingcheng's expression immediately relaxed. We've arrived. Xiao Ping and Lu Shun weren't here for the first time, relaxing significantly upon hearing this, continuing to push the cart towards the 3 big trees. Once they were near the 3 trees, circling around to the back of the mountain wall, a cave lit by a campfire came into view for the trio. Figures could be vaguely seen moving at the cave's entrance, prompting the 3 to quicken their pace, soon arriving at the entrance. Inside the cave, someone clearly noticed the approaching trio, and a middle-aged man wearing beast skin clothing emerged with several others wielding long knives. Upon recognizing Xiao Qingcheng, he immediately dropped his guard and spoke with a smile. Old Xiao, you're a bit late. Only you and Old Cheng are left. Old Zhu, that's easy for you to say. Old Cheng and I are from the 5-8 peak side, being the furthest, so we're definitely the last ones to arrive. Seeing the arrivals, Xiao Qingcheng couldn't help but joke. Zhu Zeng, leader of the Zhu camp. The exchange meeting, although jointly organized by the 11 medium-sized camps around the 5-8 mountain, where everyone appears to have equal status, is not quite so in reality. Supposedly, the idea is to exchange materials with one another. To put it bluntly, it's about meeting each other's needs. It looks good, but the actual exchanges aren't that straightforward. They all live in the same area, so the resources they can obtain aren't vastly different. But due to disparities in strength, some camps have larger activity ranges, stronger hunting abilities, and can collect and obtain more material, both in variety and quantity. Iron ore and cold beasts are considered relatively representative resources. Though Xiao He camp's strength isn't weak with over 20 earth-digging realm cultivators, the lack of sufficient weapons has kept their hunting ability from improving, leading to a corresponding shortfall in beast meat supply. Chapter 351, Chapter 180, Exchange Meeting Murder, Great Xia Gospel /2. Some things can cause a chain reaction. If the supply of beast meat is insufficient, the improvement in strength will slow down, the number of earth-digging realm warriors won't increase, preventing the camp's area of activity from expanding. As a result, encountering cold beasts becomes rare, and the improvement in hunting experience is slow. Without iron ore, it's impossible to produce enough weapons. Without weapons, the area of activity cannot expand, making it impossible to find and hunt more cold beasts. And without cold beasts, strength cannot continue to increase, the activity area remains restricted, making it even less likely to find iron ore. This is almost a perfect closed loop. Everyone knows that iron ore is very important. Therefore, the Xiao He camp has an enormous demand for iron ore. On the 5-8 mountainside, there are 8 other camps that are as short of iron as they are. Among the 11 medium-sized camps on 5-8 mountain, only Zhu He and Tongling have iron ore, and knowing that the other 9 camps lack iron, how could these 2 camps casually circulate their iron ore to them? The 25 pounds of coal can only exchange for 1 pound of iron. Not only is the price set so high, but at the monthly exchange meetings, The amount of iron ore these two camps bring is astonishingly consistent, only 5,000 pounds. Each camp 5,000, totaling only 10,000. Even if distributed evenly, each camp could only get slightly over 1,500 pounds at most. Zio he isn't stupid, and neither are the leaders of the other 8 camps. Zhu He and Tongling, these 2 camps, are using iron to exploit them. They all understand this, yet they have no solution at all. Weapons and tools suffer from wear and tear. Especially weapons after battling cold beasts, not mentioning anything else, just the sharpening edges wear down astonishingly. Not to mention bows and arrows, which once shot cannot be retrieved. Getting over 1,000 pounds of iron each month can at least maintain the necessary weapons and tools for the camp, ensuring a certain level of hunting ability, and still manage to catch some cold beasts each month, which greatly ensures safety. If even these 1,000 pounds are lost every month, once the weapons and tools at hand are damaged, not only will the danger of hunting cold beasts increase greatly, but even basic tasks like cutting trees will become difficult. So even knowing they are being exploited, they have no solution, not only not daring to complain, but even having to willingly approach each month to be exploited by the 2 camps once. Old Zio, you go in first. Old Chen has also arrived. I'll go greet him. Upon hearing Zhu Xing's words, Zio Kencheng turned his head and saw another group of 3 arriving, recognizing them as Chen Hua and his party from the West Peak camp. He nodded immediately and walked towards the cave. Old Zio has arrived. Ha, you brought quite a bit of coal with you. The cold wave is here, there's no choice, we need to prepare more. We also brought quite a lot, hoping to exchange for more. The monthly exchange meetings have made the leaders of the 11 medium-sized camps quite familiar with each other, and as Zio Kencheng exchanged pleasantries with everyone, he observed the situation inside the cave. Besides the camps of Tongling and Zhu He, who only brought 2 bags, the other 7 camps brought as much as their own, nearly 10 bags of varying sizes. Even so, the eyes of these 7 people mostly gathered on the bags of the Tongling and Zhu He camps. Seeing this scene, Zio Kencheng sighed slightly in his heart. In situations where both parties consent, exploitation doesn't really count. Tongling and Zhu He camps are at least willing to release over 1,000 pounds of iron ore to these 9 camps each month. If they didn't give an ounce, there would be nothing anyone could do. The Sanhu camp does also have iron ore, but the problem is, do you dare to trade with them? Old Chen has arrived, everyone's here now. Soon Zhu Xing brought Chen Hua and his party inside. This cave space is quite large. Just the part lit by the bonfire is over 20 meters wide, with more than 40 people from 11 groups forming a circle around it, not seeming crowded at all. Seeing everyone has taken their positions, Zhu Xing announced. The exchange meeting officially begins. As per usual practice, after Zhu Xing announced the start, he, along with the leader of the Tongling camp, Meng Yuan, would reveal the amount of iron ore and cold beast meat they planned to release, allowing the other 9 camps to bid for them using coal or other resources. The situation was indeed like this. Once he announced, Meng Yuan stepped forward. Kaboom, kaboom. Just as the 2 were about to speak, 2 consecutive thuds suddenly echoed from deep within the cave. 2 unknown objects suddenly flew from the depths of the cave toward the bonfire. Who's there? Is someone hiding inside? Who's skulking around? Come out. The faces of the people gathered around the bonfire instantly changed drastically, as they began to scatter around while shouting angrily towards the depths of the cave. Meanwhile, the unidentified objects that just flew out also fell beside the bonfire, clearly visible to everyone present. Seeing this, their expressions froze in surprise. What flew out were actually 2 people completely bound in ropes. Their mouths were pierced with iron arrows, seemingly having been gagged with something, but the impact when they flew out was so hard that the covering on their mouths fell off, emitting agonized groans. Step. Before they could clearly see the 2 on the ground, a steady footstep echoed from the depths of the cave, causing everyone to turn their heads with tense expressions. Only the 3 from Zio He camp showed a hint of realization. Wearing a black cloak, Xia Chuan slowly stepped out of the shadows from the depths of the cave, a slight smile on his face as he began to speak. Chapter 352, Chapter 180, Exchange Meeting Murder, Great Xia Gospel /3. Elders, there's no need to panic. I am Xia Chuan, the great Xia camp director. I come today with no ill intentions but to bring you all a grand gift." Under the flickering light, the moment they saw Xia Chuan, Zhu Xing, Meng Yuan, and people from the other 8 camps all had their pupils contract. It wasn't just Xia Chuan's youthful and handsome face that was striking. His black cloak, beast skin boots, and blue beast fur hat were enough to astonish everyone present. Not to mention the slender long knife hanging at his waist. It was evident at a glance that the sheath of that long knife was made of iron, coupled with the force that had just sent the 2 people inside flying out. Meng Yuan and Zhu Xing exchanged glances, their expressions filled with seriousness. "Lord Xia Chuan, you have indeed arrived." As Xiao Qingcheng spoke, the rest immediately looked at him with anger in their eyes. "Do not blame Leader Xiao, I have said. I come today with no malice, only to present you with a grand gift. Do you elders recognize these 2 people on the ground?" Xia Chuan didn't intend to harm Xiao Qingcheng, so after helping him with a phrase, he immediately continued, prompting everyone to take a good look at the 2 people on the ground. Though they were skeptical, the crowd still turned to look at the 2 people on the ground. "Isn't that Liu or who?" After observing carefully, Meng Yuan was the first to exclaim in surprise. He seemed somewhat doubtful and immediately looked at the other person. After examining, he exclaimed in shock again, "Liu Sanhu." With that, even the 10 other leaders, including Xiao Qingcheng who had already suspected, couldn't help but look down and examine closely. It's really Liu Erhu and Liu Sanhu. Could it be that the 3 Tigers camp was destroyed by him? Was it this great Xia camp that wiped them out? Once they confirmed the identities of the 2 on the ground, indeed the 2 leaders of the 3 Tigers camp, everyone's gaze towards Xia Chuan completely changed, as countless guesses emerged in their minds. Seeing that everyone recognized the 2, Xia Chuan's eyes lit up, saving him much effort. Smiling, he continued. "The 3 Tigers camp committed numerous crimes in the vicinity of 5-8 Mountain, causing you much trouble. Since Great Xia has arrived, such acts cannot be tolerated. Today, besides these 2 main culprits, you and Dao come in." As he finished speaking, Xia Chuan called out to the outside of the cave. Turning upon hearing his voice, everyone hurriedly looked towards the cave entrance. From outside the cave, Yuan Dao led a large group of over 100 people rushing in, none other than members of Great Xia's hunting team. Nearly everyone held 1 or 2 captives, all tightly bound with ropes, among them men and women, even some elderly. The one thing they shared in common was the thick aura of hostility around them, identical to that of Liu Erhu and Liu Sanhu. Yuan Dao held 2 people in his hands, entering and promptly kicking them down, then respectfully saluting Xia Chuan, "Lord." The others followed suit, kicking their captives forward before respectfully saluting Xia Chuan, and then standing motionless behind the captives. After Yuan Dao and the others saluted, a deathly silence fell over the cave. Zhu Xing, Meng Yuan, the people from the other 8 camps, and nearly everyone including Xiao Qingcheng at this moment, focused their entire attention on Yuan Dao and his group, their pupils quivering incessantly, faces filled with shock. As Xia Chuan scanned the room and saw the reactions on their faces, a faint smile appeared on his lips, opting not to speak immediately. He knew full well why they reacted this way. Remaining silent was to give them time to mentally process. Are they wearing a complete set of beast skin clothing? Longbows, broadswords, everyone has one. Look at that, isn't the double-edged giant axe on his back just too massive? How much iron ore was spent on that? Possibly over 2,000 or 3,000 pounds. Swords, axes, long sticks and long spear, so many weapons. Not just that, look at their waists. Each has a token hanging. That token also seems to be made of iron. Is that a beast tooth accessory on that one's neck? That seems to be small fangs of the thorny wolf. A thorny wolf has only 2. That strand must have over 100. Hiss. Murmurs of discussion had already started among the crowd. Upon hearing the chatter from their own people behind, Zhu Xing and Meng Yuan felt embarrassed, quickly turning to glare at them. But upon turning back to look at Yuan Dao and his group, the shock in their eyes betrayed them. If even the leaders couldn't contain their astonishment, how could those under them do any better? Comparing to the people in this area of 5-8 Mountain, those from the Great Xia camp, whether in attire or weaponry, even casual accessories, were too eye-catching. So striking that they couldn't look away. The entire cave was enveloped in silence for nearly 40 to 50 breaths due to the appearance of Yuan Dao and his group, until someone finally looked away from them, and Xia Chuan felt it was the right time, walked slowly to the rear of Liu Erhu and Liu Sanhu, gripping the knife at his waist, a cold light flashing in his eyes. These beasts, using their little power to wreak havoc, not only enslaving others and treating human lives as worthless, but also using their own people as bait to hunt cold beasts. Such degradation of human ethics and their heinous crimes cannot be tolerated by Great Xia while we are at 5-8 Mountain. The first grand gift I prepared today is to eradicate these villains for the people of 5-8 Mountain. Crack! As Xia Chuan's words faded, a pitch-black knife light flashed from his hand like lightning. Before anyone could even react, the sound of a crack echoed in their ears, and the heads of Liu Erhu and Liu Sanhu were already separated from their bodies on the ground. Chapter 353, Chapter 180, Exchange Meeting Murder Great Xia Gospel /4. Swish. Plop plop. Right after Xia Chuan drew his sword and killed 2 people, Yuan Dao and over 100 others also drew their weapons, slaying all the more than 100 people they had just escorted there. Over 100 lives were ended in less than 3 breaths. The entire cave was silent, save for the crackling of the burning wood. The smell of blood filled the air as everyone present looked at the more than 100 corpses lying haphazardly on the ground, swallowing hard. They looked up at Xia Chuan, Yuan Dao, and the others, faces filled with joy, bewilderment, shock, and a hint of fear, a complex mix of emotions. The joy was because the 3 Tigers camp, which had been plaguing the 5-8 Mountain, was destroyed. The bewilderment was because it was destroyed in such an absurd manner. They didn't even know the whole story. The 2 main culprits of the 3 Tigers camp, along with over 100 followers, were executed. The shock, of course, was due to the power of Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao, and the strength of the great Xia camp they represented. The fear was even simpler. Present today were the leaders of 11 camps. They weren't fools. Since the great Xia camp had come to 5-8 Mountain. Those were the words Xia Chuan had just spoken. This sentence, along with his bloody and domineering execution of the 3 Tigers camp people right in front of the leaders of the 11 medium-sized camps, made his intentions easy to guess. It was undoubtedly a show of strength, meant to intimidate them. As for the purpose, they were unclear, and it was this uncertainty about Xia Chuan's intentions that instilled fear in their hearts. Would the great Xia camp stay in 5-8 Mountain from now on? Would they become like the previous 3 Tigers camp? With the power that great Xia had just demonstrated, if that were the case, they. Zhu Xing pays his respects to you, my lord. Thank you, Lord Xia Chuan, for removing this great evil from our 5-8 Mountain. Henceforth, if great Xia commands, Zhu He camp will not dare disobey. This old fox. Seeing Zhu Xing rush to speak, Meng Yuan cursed inwardly and quickly followed suit, bowing to Xia Chuan. Meng Yuan pays his respects to you, my lord. I'm deeply grateful for your righteous intervention. Henceforth, Tongling Camp will likewise honor Great Xia. Whatever Great Xia needs, Tongling Camp will provide without hesitation. Chen Hua pays his respects to you, my lord, today. Liu Zhen pays his respects to you, my lord. Kang Xiu pays his respects to you, my lord. As soon as Zhu Xing and Meng Yuan spoke, the remaining 8 quickly followed, respectfully bowing to Xia Chuan. Their words varied, but they all conveyed the same sentiment. Henceforth, they would all honor Great Xia's authority and follow its commands unconditionally. This was the effect of intimidation. Seeing everyone's reactions, a look of satisfaction appeared deep in Xia Chuan's eyes. This was precisely the outcome he desired. Ever since the incident with Han Guang, he had been pondering. What would be the best way for Great Xia to expand? Violence like Han Guang's was too brutal. Although it could achieve the goal quickly, it easily sowed resentment and had endless future troubles. Conversely, a gradual approach like he used with Xiao He camp, leveraging gifts to demonstrate the camp's strength, was effective but time-consuming and exhausting, and thus not feasible either. Xia Chuan finally realized that a combination of intimidation and goodwill was the optimal approach. By clearly telling these people that Great Xia had strength but harbored no ill will toward them, future negotiations could align more closely with his plans. The current scene was exactly as Xia Chuan had anticipated. Of course, what he sought was more than just having these camps respect Great Xia's supremacy. Since all of you have said so, I might as well be straightforward. After glancing around at everyone, Xia Chuan continued, "What our great Xia camp currently lacks most is people." Upon hearing this, only Xiao Qingcheng remained unchanged in expression. The other 10 all showed slight changes in their expression, with surprise flashing in their eyes. "Don't worry, our great Xia is not like the Three Tigers camp." Knowing what everyone was thinking, Xia Chuan continued, "To be honest, under my elder brother Xia Hong's leadership, Great Xia Camp has already conquered over 300 square kilometers of territory. The outer area on the east side of Redwood Ridge and the entire northern Arrow Bamboo Forest are now our Great Xia hunting grounds, filled with beast skins, beast meat, beast blood, iron ore, coal mines, rare herbs, and exotic treasures. Everything you can imagine." Upon hearing this, Xiao Kangcheng's expression turned strange, as Xia Chuan had said something similar when he first visited Xiao He camp more than 10 days ago. But seeing Zhu Xing, Meng Yuan, and the others' reactions, he immediately realized that today, Xia Chuan's words were far more effective than they had been previously. Indeed, Zhu Xing, Meng Yuan, and the other 10 leaders, as well as their camp members behind them, showed signs of yearning despite some lingering doubts, after hearing Xia Chuan's description of Great Xia Camp. This was the benefit of intimidation. If Xia Chuan had done nothing and merely said these words flatly, no one present would have believed him. But with over 100 earth-digging realm fighters like Yu and Dao, alongside the annihilation of Three Tigers camp, these people couldn't help but believe it. So, the only thing our Great Xia Camp lacks is people. After Xia Chuan finished this sentence, everyone present fell silent. Resources so abundant that people were the only shortage, this seemed unbelievable and unimaginable to them. Yet, the message conveyed by Xia Chuan's earlier words suggested exactly that. Whether they believed it or not, the 10 leaders present finally understood. This was an attempt to forcibly annex their camps. Understanding Xia Chuan's intention, their eyes immediately turned wary, with a few even showing clear resistance on their faces. "Of course, our Great Xia won't force any of you to integrate. Like Xiao He camp, each camp can send 3 people to come and learn about Great Xia. Whether to integrate or not is up to you." This sentence brought a huge sigh of relief from everyone. Even the most wary among a few leaders visibly relaxed. Consider the integration as Great Xia's gift to you. Whether you seize this opportunity is up to you, but let me say this first. Such a direct opportunity for integration is available only once. If you miss it, it won't come again. After completing this statement, Xia Chuan shifted his tone, smiling as he said, "I've heard that most camps in 5-8 Mountain are in urgent need of iron ore. This exchange meeting greatly interests us at Great Xia. If you can offer something attractive enough, there's no limit to the amount of iron ore Great Xia can provide." After saying this final line, Xia Chuan signaled to Shi Ping beside him with his eyes. Shi Ping nodded, clapping his hands. The 8 members of the Cloud Jiao team stepped forward, each carrying a leather bag, and in front of everyone, opened the bags directly. Ting clang. 5 large bags of iron ore, along with nearly 100 weapons, were poured out with a clanging sound. Everyone's gaze instantly froze, filled with desire as they looked at the large quantity of iron ore and hundreds of sharp weapons on the ground. Meng Yuan and Zhu Xing awkwardly stepped forward to block the single bag of iron ore they had brought with them. Chapter 354. Chapter 181. What does Great Xia want? Liu Dahu's ambition. The exchange meeting was still proceeding as normal, but unlike before, the main player was no longer the camps of Tongling and Zhuhe, but the Great Xia camp alone. Especially when Xia Chuan announced that the exchange rate of iron ore and coal stone of Great Xia would be 1 to 15. Apart from the groups of Zhuhe and Meng Yuan, almost all of the people from the other 9 medium-sized camps erupted in enthusiastic cheers. Previously, Xia Chuan had said that Great Xia would give all camps at 5-8 Mountain a chance to merge with them, treating it as a blessing from Great Xia. In fact, everyone wasn't entirely convinced by this statement. After all, they had never been to the Great Xia camp and didn't know the actual situation. Although from Yuan Dao's group's attire of over 100 and the iron ore weapons Xia Chuan brought, it could be inferred that the Great Xia camp was indeed powerful. But merging their people into another camp couldn't just be about whether they were strong or not. No matter how strong Great Xia was, what if they were not good to their camp's people? Even more extreme, What if Great Xia's style was similar to the Three Tigers camp? But now it was different. Iron ore and weapons were real tangible benefits. The 1-to-15 exchange rate was a full 40% cheaper than the prices set by the camps of Tongling and Zhuhe, saving them loads of coal stone, conserving extensive resources, and allowing them to get more pounds of iron ore in exchange. To them, these immediate tangible benefits were the real blessing. "Sir, this is the specialty fruit from our camp, Chengguo, sweet and with a peculiar aroma. The previous exchange rate with coal was 3-to-1, so with iron it should be 45-to-1. We have 45,000 pounds here, wanting to exchange for 1,000 pounds of iron. Sir, this is the typhoid medicine produced in our camp, useful for women and children who are weak with symptoms of headache and fever. Previously, the exchange rate with coal was 1-to-1. We've brought 1,200 pounds, wanting to exchange it all for iron." When it came to the part of exchanging resources, Qiu Peng naturally took the lead. He was the director of the camp's supply department, in charge of all the camp's resources. The items brought this time were also his responsibility, and it was up to him to preside over the exchange of resources with the 11 camps. Xia Chuan did not intervene. He merely watched quietly from the side. After watching for some time, he roughly understood. Coal should be a common pricing item for the camps here at 5-8 Mountain. Almost any resource was priced using coal as a reference. Xia Chuan's eyes slightly lit up, showing some appreciation for the command of the people present. Sure enough, coal was indeed suitable as a pricing item. Firstly, it's a necessity that provides far more heat than wood for warmth, and it also greatly improves the environment, unlike wood combustion, which produces a lot of smoke and has low burning efficiency. Secondly, it can be used for smelting, medicine preparation, softening land, and even modifying living environments. It has a wide range of uses that every household can make use of. Lastly, its mining threshold is high, just like iron, with limited output, requiring each household to deploy earth-digging realm manpower to produce. And coincidentally, most of the 11 camps possess this capability and have coal mines. Of course, it's not that other items are not feasible. Comparatively, iron and cold beast meat, these two essentials, are actually more suitable. The problem is that these two items are considered scarce at 5-8 Mountain. Sir, in this trade we really made a killing. More than 40,000 pounds of iron ore exchanged for over 500,000 coal stone. Not to mention we got so many new oddities. Chengguo, frozen pearl, green water bowl, Xianghan fruit, typhoid medicine, also medicinal white Zhai umbrella, jade bone grass, cold tong powder. Cheng Feng just told me that once we take these things back and use the medicine decoction pot to identify them, maybe a lot of new medicinal formulas could come out of it. The resource exchange was not yet complete, and Qiu Peng, with unabated excitement, handed over the remaining matters to his subordinates, went to Xia Chuan with some new items to report. Xia Chuan took the few new oddities passed by Qiu Peng, his eyes slightly brightening. For Great Xia, such a transaction was indeed a good deal. With so little iron ore, they could exchange for so many things. Even without knowing the difficulty of collecting these resources, at the very least, in terms of quantity, Great Xia profited a lot. Even if it were all used to exchange for coal, they still profited significantly. Sir, if you ask me, there's no need to recruit these people into the camp. Just leave them here like the camps of Zhuhe and Tongling, periodically releasing a certain amount of iron ore. In essence, they are actually still collecting resources for our Great Xia. What do you think? Upon hearing Qiu Peng's words, Xia Chuan's brow immediately furrowed, and he asked back, "Do you think I brought all of you so far to 5-8 Mountain just to earn these things?" Qiu Peng was initially stunned, then plunged into thought. Seeing that he couldn't figure it out for a long time, Xia Chuan shook his head, played with the new oddities in his hand twice, and directly said, "The value of these things, whether high or low, can only be determined after it's been identified when we return, but no matter what, they will surely be useful to us. Since they are useful, then we have to find a way to get them. Do you think we need to adopt the same method as those two camps to obtain these things?" The question was quite blunt. Even if Qiu Peng was a fool, he came to realize. The chief sent us here for expansion. What Great Xia wants is just these things, but the entire 5-8 Mountain. Xia Chuan's demeanor was domineering, having been in a high position for a long time, not only making his vision much more extensive than that of people like Qiu Peng, but also giving him a deeper understanding of the relationships between camps.